The CBS Radio Mystery Theater presents... Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. I'd invite you to sit down, but at the moment we're in a laboratory. The laboratory of Dr. John Gilbert and Stephen Kaplan, two research scientists at State University. Nothing but sinks and test tubes and Bunsen burners, and only one chair at a desk where Dr. Gilbert is now sitting alone, talking into a small tape recorder. I think without disturbing him, we might just listen.
Tape 26. 4 p.m. Friday, February 17. Tomorrow, we will make the supreme test. The serum I-23 has already been effective on mice and rabbits. Tomorrow, if it works on the human body, there's no end to the potential. I have no qualms at all. The serum won't kill me. At least, I don't think so. But we cannot know its true worth until we try it on a human. On me.
Our mystery drama, I Thought I Saw a Shadow, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Bob Jurin and stars Nat Polen. When man tampers with the forces of nature, sometimes great things are revealed to him. Radio, for instance. Had it not been for man's curiosity, his probing and questioning, the miracle of broadcasting might still be undiscovered. And then, where would we be? That's just one of the thousands of ways that humans have put the laws of nature to productive use. But there are other laws and forces that are better left untouched, unexplored. For these laws are immutable, fixed, unchanging, and some of them, when disturbed, produce frightening and devastating results. Let's go to the laboratory of Dr. John Gilbert and his assistant, Dr. Stephen Kaplan, as they prepare to tamper with just such a law.
Lab 2, Kaplan here. Yes, sir, right here. John, Colonel Morgan.
Oh, thanks. Hello, Colonel. I was expecting your call. Yes, on Saturday. Well, I know we've discussed it, Colonel, and I have to be firm. No witnesses. I realize the government is funding the project, but until Dr. Kaplan and I are sure it's ready, we have to conduct our experiments in absolute secrecy. Thank you, Colonel. Yes, certainly, as soon as we have the result. Goodbye.
If this thing's supposed to be top secret, how does Colonel Morgan come out thinking he can bring in a party of bird watchers?
Well, he has to act important. He wants to be sure he gets whatever credit is coming. And I should be used to that.
You mean Dr. Ferguson?
She could have shared that award with me for the work we did on blood plasma. It was mostly my work. She could have given me some recognition, even though I was only her student.
Well, forget her. I'm still worried about going ahead. I don't think we've run enough tests on the animals. I think it's too soon to be squirting the stuff in your arm.
I know, Steve. But how much further can we go with the animals? We can't get a subjective reaction. We know the primary function of the serum works, but we don't know how they feel, how they move under the influence.
I know you're right. And I know we're going through with it on Saturday. And I know I'm supposed to be a level-headed scientist. And I know I'm damn scared.
I'll get it. Lab 2, Gilbert.
Hello, John. I'm not interrupting.
Margot.
Oh, I'm sorry to bother you at the lab, but I never get an answer to the apartment.
I know. I'm not there much anymore.
You were never there much any time. But that's past, John. I wonder if I could see you.
Of course, Margot.
This project's taking all your time. You name it.
Well, I could meet you tonight. Do you want to come to the apartment?
No, I'd rather you came here. Want to make a dinner?
That'd be nice.
How about 7?
All right, I'll be there.
Goodbye, John.
See you later, Margot.
No comment.
She's still my wife, Steve.
In name only. I hate to see your concentration broken by another meeting. Particularly now, 2 days before...
I'm not a teenager, Steve. I can control my emotions.
John, does Margot know about our work?
No. I've kept it top secret even from her, which wasn't difficult since we see each other so seldom now.
Are you going to tell her?
Why should I?
I don't know, really, but if something goes wrong...
What would telling her in advance accomplish?
I think, as your wife, she ought to know there's a chance she may never see you again.
More coffee, John?
No, thanks, Margot. I'd rather get down to some serious talk.
Okay. Well, we've been to the wine, the candlelight, and the steak. Now we've got to face the facts.
The fact being...
I want a divorce.
I was afraid of that.
John, don't make it any more difficult for me. We've been separated for almost a year. I want to be free.
Do you? Really?
No, yes. A few months ago, I might have had doubts. But now I know I want to marry Bill Watkins. I want to be free to marry him.
Well, I can't blame you.
I'm not going to drag up the old neglected wife routine. You'll always be a deep part of me. But I want more out of life than the shadow of a man.
Well, I can't argue the point. But you'll always be a deep part of me. You know, working in the lab, those many nights, those lonely nights for you, for me, you were always there. I love you. Even though you were home and I was working, we were there together.
I may have been there for you, but for me, it was lonely. Is lonely.
Well, I'll do whatever you want, Margot.
Thank you.
No, damn it, I don't mean that. I don't want Bill Watkins to have you.
John.
Give me one more chance. Let me finish this project I'm on now. It'll only be a few weeks, and I'll take a sabbatical. We'll travel. We'll be together every minute. And then I'll settle for a teaching position in California. A nice, quiet, steady life.
In other words, your career is the price you'll pay for me.
Yes, if I have to.
And you'll hate me for it. No, John. I want it my way.
Well, it doesn't have to be settled tonight. Things can change. Maybe you will be free.
What do you mean by that?
Well, Steve thought I ought to tell you. It's supposed to be top secret, but as my wife...
What is it, John?
The project, the government project.
Well, I know that. I know it's taken every minute for 2 years.
But you've never known what it was.
No. No, I could have put up a fight against another woman easier than that secret project.
Well, Steve thought I ought to confide in you as my wife. Because, as he put it, you may never see me again.
What?
You've got to swear to secrecy, Margot. No one on Earth except Steve and a handful of government officials know about this.
All right. I swear.
Steve and I have developed a serum. A serum that's injected into the body and renders the body totally invisible.
Invisible?
It changes the molecular structure of the body. It works on the nucleus of the body's atoms. We've proved it with the lab animals.
Invisible? But why?
Margot, its use in the military is beyond imagination. For spies, troops, invisibility could turn the outcome of battles. And it works. On lab animals, it works.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And on Saturday, we're trying it on me.
On you? John, you mean you're going to become invisible?
Well, that's the hope and the plan. The effect only lasts for an hour or so, but we can't be sure of it until we try it on a human. On the rats in the lab, it lasted 1 hour. Then, gradually, they reappeared. No worse for the experience.
Then it's not dangerous?
Not to the animals, but we've got to try it on a human to really find out. to get the subjective reactions. I mean, will I see myself, or will I look down and see nothing but space? How will I move? My body will still be there. I won't be able to walk through things like a ghost, or will I? These are the questions we have to answer with a human subject.
You.
Me.
You'll come out of it all right.
We hope and expect so. The effect has to wear off.
And if it doesn't?
You'll never see me again.
Oh, you seem to be making light of it.
I have confidence in the serum. I admit I'm a trifle nervous about the sensations, the unknown. But to a scientist, the thrill of the unknown is the whole reason for being.
Oh, well, I know.
But it's not dangerous. If it were, those rats and rabbits would have been dead, or worse.
But you'll have to take a much larger dose than you gave the animals, won't you?
Well, naturally. You see, being a scientist's wife, something did rub off.
And what that larger dose may do...
is something we have to find out on Saturday.
Are you ready, John?
Yes.
Now, you're sure you...
I'm sure, Steve. We've worked for 2 years for this minute.
All right.
Oh, damn it. Let it ring.
I can't. Lab 2.
Steve, can I talk to John?
It's Margot.
All right. Margot?
Oh, John, I had to call. Are you all right?
We haven't started. You called at a very awkward time.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I simply can't stop thinking.
I understand. But you'll have to let me call you later.
If you're able to.
I will. Please, Margot, I can't talk now.
Oh, all right. Call me later.
Go ahead.
Okay. It's a large dose. At least 30 seconds to empty the syringe. Feel anything?
Not yet.
I'm going to slow down on the pressure a second.
Why?
Let your body absorb what it's got already.
I don't feel a thing. Maybe I'm not supposed to.
You don't look any different either.
It's too early to tell. Maybe the dose we planned isn't big enough. Start the tape recorder. I have now absorbed 200 cc of the serum I-23. The 23rd formula, which Dr. Kaplan and I feel to be the effective limit for invisibility. I have no sensation. 20 seconds have passed since the beginning of the injection. In our experiments with mice, invisibility began within the first 10 seconds and was complete by 30. Taking into account the difference in size and body tissue, I should begin to disappear within 2 minutes, and complete invisibility should be effected in 5. 40 seconds have passed. The syringe is empty.
Feel any different?
Our proportions couldn't have been that much off.
It's not likely. But everything's still an X factor.
The dosage must have been too small.
We don't know that yet.
All right. We'll wait 15 minutes. Failure number 1.
I don't understand it.
I'm too tired and discouraged to rethink it now. It just doesn't work on human tissue.
Larger dosage won't work either. If it's going to be practical for military use, the dose has to be small. A capsule a guy can pop in his mouth. A spy can't wait around for 2 or 3 injections to work.
I know. We'll go back to the formula Monday. I'm going to forget it for 48 hours. What time is it?
4:10.
All right, I'm going out and have the biggest martini I can find. How about you?
I'll take 2.
You know, the nitrogen element may be too low.
I don't think so. The balance was 80-20 nitrogen over phosphate. More likely it... John, Stop a second.
What's the matter?
Look. On the pavement ahead of us.
What?
The sun's behind us. Look at my shadow.
So?
In front of you. There is no shadow.
You're right.
Your body isn't casting any shadow at all.
curious condition for Dr. John Gilbert, for anyone, for that matter. After all, one's shadow is a very personal thing. It's yours alone. And to be without one, well, it's unnerving, to say the least. Thank goodness I still have mine. I can see it right here on the studio floor. So don't go away, please. Me and my shadow, if not Dr. Gilbert's, will be back shortly with Act 2. A man without a shadow. Something strange happened to the body of Dr. John Gilbert when he tried to make himself invisible by injecting a serum into his veins. But something stranger still is in store for Dr. Gilbert. For Margot, in fact, for the entire city where Dr. Gilbert lives and works. Let's return to State University.
No shadow. Something's happened, Steve. The serum had some effect.
It's working. Maybe this is one of the first signs.
Come on, back to the lab. I want to make some tests and go over our notes. Now, move the light closer. Closer. That's it. Now circle me. Move back. Raise the light a little.
Still nothing. Not a sign of a shadow.
It's been 55 minutes since the injection. This is as far as the serum will go, apparently.
What do you mean by that?
The only way I can figure it. My body has lost some of its density. It won't obstruct light. That's why there's no shadow.
Yes. Yes, the molecular structure must have dispersed just so far.
It's obvious, then, that a massive dose is the only thing that will bring on complete invisibility.
Oh, no more, John. Not now.
No, I didn't mean that. I'm not ready for more. But I'm going over the formula till I find it. The one equation that will push us over the line. We're so close. Oh, boy. Well, why don't you take off?
I have nothing on for the night. I'll work with you.
I'd rather do it alone, Steve.
John, do you think it's wise to be alone? We don't know what reaction might be next.
The phone's right here. If anything happens, you'll be the first to know.
You're not hiding it very well, Margot.
I know, Bill. I'm sorry to spoil our supper.
Margot, I love you. We're going to be married. Your problem is my problem.
Not exactly. It's John. I'm worried about him.
Is he giving you a hard time about the divorce?
No. But he was going to call me today. I was expecting to hear from him before you picked me up.
What's he calling you about?
I can't tell you.
You still seem awfully interested in John.
I am interested in his work. It's important.
I thought his work was the whole problem between you two.
It was, but, well...
Then why all this sudden interest? The concern?
Oh, Bill, you have a way of twisting things, I say.
Margot, level with me.
I can't tell you any more than I have. Only that I may never see John again.
That would be fine with me.
Oh, stop it, Bill, please. If you knew my reasons, you'd understand. But I can't tell you.
I feel no physical sensation at all. No dizziness, no apparent lessening of muscle tone or tissue structure, no loss of weight. Just loss of shadow. Oh. This will be the last entry for this date. Saturday, February 18. I will resume tomorrow when... Steve? Steve, is that you? Steve? Who's there? I could swear someone came into the lab. New item. It's 10:05 p.m. I have a distinct feeling someone has entered the lab. There was no sound, just this feeling. I will continue taping in case this may prove helpful if anything happens. I know I am not alone. Who's there? Answer me! I can see a shadow. I know someone's there. Shadow is moving from the outer hall. In a second, I'll know who it is. There's nothing but a shadow. A man's shadow moving into the lamp. It glides across the floor now, not toward me, toward the wall. Within all reason, this can't be. But it is happening. Now it moves along the wall. It stops. It hangs there on the wall, waiting. The shadow of a man. Now I know with all certainty that shadow on the wall is mine. How still it hangs there, waiting for the last of the serum to wear off. Now, it moves again. Moves with a will of its own. Slowly across the wall, toward the window. There, it pauses by the window. And now, disappears into the night.
Archives.
This is Dr. Ferguson, Judith Ferguson.
Yes, doctor.
I'd like to have the 1969 AMA report on cholesterol sent to my office right away.
I'm sorry, Dr. Ferguson. The archives are closed.
They're never closed to me, young man. I'll expect that report within the half hour.
But, doctor, the files are locked for the night. I have no authority.
Then who has?
Only Mrs. Abrams, the director.
Then get her at home and get me that... Just a minute. Who's out there?
Dr. Ferguson?
I've got to go. Someone just came into my outer office. Get that report and get it now. Who's there? Funny. Thought I saw a shadow. Huh? It is a shadow. But who's there? Answer me. Just a shadow? It can't be. Oh, get away, please. Get away. Don't. No.
John?
What? Oh, Steve.
You've been here all night.
What time is it?
9 a.m.
Oh.
John, are you all right?
Yes, I think so. I can't seem to remember. Oh, yes. Yes, Steve, something's happened.
It sure has. Dr. Judith Ferguson was found dead in her office last night.
Dr. Ferguson?
It's on all the newscasts. Some clerk from the archives took a report to her office. Said Ferguson insisted on having it last night. He found her.
Murder?
They don't say.
How awful.
We'll hear all the lurid details soon enough. I'm more concerned about you. Any side effects through the night?
No, it's funny. I can't seem to remember anything after you left me. I think I started to dictate, and I just don't remember. My mind's a blank. Why can't I remember?
Another effect of the serum, perhaps.
Maybe. Well, maybe the tape will tell us. I'll rewind, and then we'll find out what happened to me. Huh, that's strange. There should have been more than that.
We'll play it.
There are no physical sensations at all. No dizziness. No apparent lessening of muscle tone or tissue structure. Just loss of shadow. This will be the last entry for this date, February 18. I will resume tomorrow when...
Well?
There's more. There's got to be more.
Well, that's all there is. You fell asleep.
No, there's something... An impression, something more happened. But why isn't it on the tape?
You fell asleep.
Why can't I remember? Why?
Oh. Lab 2. Kaplan here.
May I speak to Dr. Gilbert, please?
Who's calling?
Lieutenant Healy, 4th Precinct.
Oh. police, John.
Police? Why? Hello?
Dr. Gilbert, I'm Lieutenant Healy, 4th Precinct. I wonder if I could talk with you this morning.
What's wrong? Margot?
Oh, it's about a Dr. Judith Ferguson.
Dr. Ferguson? Oh, yes. My associate just told me.
We're asking everyone who knew her to help if they can. I understand you're acquainted with her.
Yes. Some time ago, I was a student in one of her classes.
In about an hour, all right? At your lab.
Yes, I'll be here.
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert.
What's up?
He wants to talk to me about Judith. They're asking everyone who knew her.
Well, you haven't seen her in how long?
Well, I see her in the hospital now and then, but our work together was over 2 years ago.
Oh, relax, John. You haven't got anything to worry about.
You know Dr. Ferguson how long?
Well, Lieutenant, we were actually associated for only a year. I was a graduate student in one of her classes. That was 2 years ago.
We wouldn't single you out like this, Dr. Gilbert, but we're told you and Dr. Ferguson were involved in a successful medical project, one that Dr. Ferguson received an award for.
Yes, on blood plasma.
Well, after working that closely with Dr. Ferguson, can you remember any incident, any friend of hers? Anything that might give us a clue to who'd want to kill her?
Well, then, you do suspect murder.
This was no accident.
How was she killed, Lieutenant? Nothing's been said.
Well, we're keeping that quiet. She was suffocated. Apparently, a clerk from the hospital archives department took a report to her office. She didn't answer his knock, so he got the custodian to open the door. They found her.
The office was locked from the inside?
Windows, too.
Well, then if it was murder, how did the killer get out?
That's just one of the problems we've got with this case.
Oh?
There were no marks on the body, but the room was a shambles. She fought with someone. But we figure whoever tore that room apart has some marks on him. That's why we're talking to anyone we can find who knew her. Something will give the killer away. Well, thanks for your time, Doctor. I'll be in touch if we need any more from you.
Thank you.
Goodbye, Lieutenant.
There was a time, I suppose, when I could easily have killed Judith Ferguson myself. My work, her acclaim. But I certainly wouldn't dream of it now.
Come on, I'll buy you a drink. It's getting late.
I'm so mixed up. These 2 days have been... Wait.
What's the matter?
Someone's come into the lab.
I didn't hear anyone.
No sound, no. But someone's here. Now I remember. Last night, I remember. I was alone. I thought it was you.
What are you talking about, John?
It's back. It's here in the lab, just like last night.
John, stop this.
There it is. Good Lord. What? Shh. It's my shadow. My shadow. Alive. And with a will of its own.
You saw this last night?
Yes. Now watch. It moves along the wall. So slowly. Silently.
I can't believe I'm seeing this.
I couldn't believe it either, Steve. There it goes, look. Along the wall. The drapes. Now, out the window, just like last night.
It's gone.
Just like last night. It vanished at the window. And then, Dr. Ferguson.
Ferguson? You don't think it was responsible for...
It seems to have a will of its own. Steve, where's it going now?
You've heard it said that some people are afraid of their own shadow. Well, it seems that Dr. Gilbert's shadow is something to be afraid of. It has already disposed of one of Dr. Gilbert's dark, subconscious resentments. And there's not the shadow of a doubt there'll be more sinister happenings when I return shortly with Act 3. A shadow is on the loose. A shadow with a will of its own, now drifting, gliding. And where, indeed, is it going next? What or whom is it after? Both Both John Gilbert and Steve Kaplan saw it pass through their lab. There's no doubt that Dr. Gilbert's shadow has an existence of its own, and Gilbert seems to think he knows what it's been up to.
John, are you suggesting that this thing killed Judith Ferguson?
I'm quite certain it did.
That's impossible.
The policeman said Judith died of suffocation. No marks on her body. A locked room. Does that sound like an ordinary murder?
No, but why Dr. Ferguson?
I don't know. Perhaps because I wished her dead at one time. I think we should notify this Lieutenant Healy.
And tell him what? That we think a shadow is out killing people? Your shadow? He'll lock us up.
Oh, I know. It does sound like nonsense.
If this thing is a part of you that disengaged itself when you took the serum, it should return to normal when the serum wears off.
Steve, it has worn off. I took that injection more than 24 hours ago. But that thing still exists.
I'm still not sure I buy it, John. We don't know how long the serum might stay in your body.
We found no trace of it in the mice after 4 hours.
True, but their shadows didn't go wandering around either.
Perhaps mice don't have resentful souls.
Oh, you've really sold yourself on the idea that some astral part of you killed Judith Ferguson.
When the serum changed my molecular structure, who knows what it released? I am changed permanently. The serum wore off long ago. And that thing out there continues to exist.
Lab 2, Dr. Kaplan.
Oh, Steve, Margot. Is John there?
No, he went home around 4 o'clock.
Oh, I can reach John at the apartment then.
Yes.
How is he, Steve? I mean, really, after the experiment.
Tired. Very tired. We both are. But there were no serious effects.
Oh, I'm glad of that. How did the news of Dr. Ferguson affect him?
He was shocked. The police were here this
The
morning.
police? Why?
Well, they're questioning everyone who knew her.
But why John? They certainly don't suspect him.
Of course not. It's routine.
Well, I'd better call him. Thanks, Steve.
Bye, Margot.
Oh, that must be Bill. Coming! Come in, Bill.
Feeling better today, darling? You were pretty upset last night.
Ah, yes. I'm sorry I spoiled our dinner.
Margot, we've got some things to talk about that can't wait.
I know. John.
No, not John. You're the one who's making my life complicated, not John. Do you want me or don't you?
Of course, Bill. But why do you insist I cut off every mention of John?
I won't share you.
Oh, Bill, that's kid stuff.
It's not kid stuff, and it's not only this weekend. I felt it for weeks.
I am trying desperately to control myself. I've had a nerve-wracking weekend, and you won't let up on me.
Then tell me what's so special about Dr. Gilbert this weekend.
Bill, let go of my arm.
Tell me.
He's doing an experiment.
So?
Well, he's trying to...
To what?
Bill, there's someone in the bedroom.
What?
I just saw a shadow pass the bedroom door.
But how could anyone get in through the...
Bill, what is it?
A shadow. Moving along the wall. The shadow of a man.
I see it. But how?
This doesn't make any sense.
Oh.
There's no one here. Just a shadow.
Oh, Bill, I'm frightened.
It stopped. Now it's sliding down the wall.
Coming along the floor. Coming towards us. Oh, Bill, it's covering you.
I can't breathe.
I don't know what to do.
Get out.
Oh, Bill.
Get away. Margot.
No, Bill.
We haven't been able to get a word out of her, Dr. Gilbert. She's in deep shock.
Then you don't know what happened in Margot's apartment.
I'm hoping you'll be telling me this smacks of more than coincidence, Dr. Gilbert. 2 people whose lives touched yours, dead within 24 hours of each other, and killed the same way.
Are you ready to believe me?
Ready?
My shadow killed them both. I don't know who will be next.
Now look, Dr. Gilbert, if you're going to make light of this, I'll be damn sure you're sorry.
Oh, I'm not making light of anything. My shadow is loose, with a will of its own.
Now, you may be an eminent scientist.
Look at the floor, Lieutenant. Look! There's your shadow. Where's mine?
Oh, Well, okay, I've read enough science fiction to believe it, but don't ask me to be putting out an all-points bulletin on your shadow. Shadows don't kill people, Doctor. People do.
Is that you, Bill?
Margot, it's John.
John. Oh, Bill's dead.
Relax, Margot. Don't try to talk.
Oh, it was so horrible. The shadow on the wall. It came at us. It moved along the floor. And then Bill choked.
Mrs. Gilbert, you saw this shadow. Only a shadow.
There wasn't anybody there. Nothing but a shadow. A shadow.
Well, I'll be outside. I've got to make a phone call.
John, how is Margot?
She's out of shock. They have her sedated.
This Bill Watkins was victim number 2.
There's no doubt. She saw the shadow. It enveloped him and slowly suffocated him.
What does Lieutenant Healy say?
I told him the whole story. He had a hard time accepting it until Margot confirmed the shadow.
Dr. Gilbert, Dr. Kaplan, we've got real trouble.
What's the matter, Lieutenant?
2 more deaths, exactly like Ferguson and Watkins.
Who?
A reporter from the Herald, Jim O'Hara.
I never heard of him.
Well, how about Helen Morris, a bridal consultant at Long's Fashion Center?
No, I don't know her either.
Oh, you're positive there's no connection?
None at all.
Well, that means the thing is hitting at random.
Oh, Lord, what have I done?
Well, look, is there any clue, Dr. Gilbert, anything that might help?
There hasn't been time to study it. It only started yesterday and... Wait a minute. There is something. The shadow always returned to the laboratory. I saw it first before Dr. Ferguson did.
And then we both saw it there this morning, before it went after Bill Watkins.
Then your lab is the most likely place to look for it.
I don't know. I don't know what it will do. Still, I'm responsible.
How can we stop it if it does show up?
Well, we'll worry about that later. If this leaks to the press, we'll have a panic. That's right, Captain. Dr. Gilbert thinks it will come back here to his lab. I don't know. Wait a minute. The captain thinks he ought to send a cordon, surround the lab.
You wanted to keep this quiet.
No cordon's going to catch a shadow.
Hello, Captain. The doctors think it'll attract too much attention. I agree. Oh, okay, we'll wait. And keep your line open. Almost an hour. 9 o'clock.
I wonder if we're driving it off waiting like this, Lieutenant. I think it'd be better if I were alone.
No way. I'm going to be staying.
Dr. Gilbert has a point, Lieutenant.
Well, there's nothing any of us can do if it does appear. You can't shoot it, catch it. Why don't you leave me alone and see what happens?
Well, maybe you know more about this then than I do. I'll go along. I'll be right downstairs, though.
I'll wait with the lieutenant, John. Maybe this is between you and whatever it is. Your shadow.
Yes. Yes, I think it is.
I don't like leaving him alone.
Neither do I, Lieutenant. But I don't know what else to do. If the shadow comes back, maybe he can deal with it.
And it may not come back. It may keep on killing.
Who knows what it's going to do?
Whoever heard of anything like this before? I can't believe I'm staking out a shadow.
We can wait in here. Faculty lounge.
Well, I only wish I knew what we were waiting for.
Tape 12. Sunday, February 19, 9:30 p.m. There have been no further effects on my body. Nothing more to indicate the cause of this strange transformation that's taken place with the loss of my shadow and the subsequent power of that being. Will it return to me? I know now what I have to do, what I must do. There it is. Slipping in at the window. I knew you'd be back. There's only one way you can be stopped. When I die, you'll have to return to me, locked to me as you were all through my life. My shadow. No longer with a will of your own. It's my own life that gives life to you.
Almost 9:30.
I think we ought to go back up. At least I can see if he's okay.
Maybe you're right. Come on.
Yeah, no, I got my doubts about anything happening like this.
That's John.
I'm getting my gun ready.
John!
He may still be alive.
John!
Or let me get to the phone. Police emergency. Get me.
He's dead.
Never mind. The gun's still in his hand. He never fired a shot.
And there's not a mark on him.
The thing. Just like the others.
We'll never know. Oh, John.
What are you doing, Doctor?
What I should have done long ago. Destroying the formula and everything about this fiendish project. The chemicals, the notebooks, even the tapes. I don't want to know anymore. I hated this thing from the start.
I gotta call headquarters. That thing may still be on the loose.
No, it isn't, Lieutenant. Look on the floor.
Oh, yes, I see.
Yeah. The shadow of a man slumped over in his chair. Do you have any doubt it's Gilbert's shadow? As still as he is.
What did kill Dr. Gilbert? His shadow? His subconscious? Dr. Gilbert went too far over the border of man's understanding. He delved too deeply in secrets that should remain untouched. For in all of heaven, earth, and even hell, there are some things that are better left untampered with. And this was one of them. I'll be back shortly. Stand up and take a good look at your shadow. Is it following your every move? Is it really the shadow you're casting, or, look closely now, do you detect a little deviation, a little rebellion, a hint that perhaps your shadow might like to do its own thing? Maybe you'd better turn off the lights. That's the surest way I know of getting rid of shadows, wanted or otherwise. Our cast included Nat Polen, Joan Shea, Gordon Gould, and Lloyd Batista. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams. The CBS Radio Mystery Theater presents... Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. In his Psalm of Life, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow says, "Trust no future, howe'er pleasant. Let the dead past bury its dead. Act in the living present. The trouble is that the past so often refuses to stay in its place, and the dead invade the living present, or at least the memory of them does, to shadow both it and the future, as you will find out if you listen to this particular tale. Our mystery drama, This Deadly Fraternity, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Ian Martin and stars Jack Grimes. I'll be back shortly with Act One. Not so very long ago, a bank was a temple, a hallowed place of mystery. Its high priests were the executive officers in three-button vested suits cut from conservative serge. The gleaming marble floors echoed one's footsteps, which rang hollowly over the hushed whisper of the business of transacting money. Most banks are very different today. In the hustle of advertising, the giveaways, the constant battle to win depositors. But not all. Some remain just as forbidding, as, for example, the First Continental Bank of Cleveland, whose president is the formidable M.J. Trimble.
Yes, Miss Broad. Who? Harold Clark? Oh, Clark, yes. Yes, send him in. Let's see now, where was I? Come in.
You, wish to see me, Mr. Trimble?
Oh, yes, come in. Close the door.
Yes, sir.
Now then, how's everything going along at Mortgages and Loans, Clark?
Well, all right, I think. Have I done something wrong?
I don't know, Clark, have you?
Well, no, sir.
Well,
I mean...
Why bring up such nonsense? I just asked a friendly question. It so happens that for a certain reason I find I have an interest in you. How long have you been with us now?
Just a little under a year.
Came over to us from Metro Bank, I believe.
That's right, sir.
After 7 years there. Certainly took time for you to see the error of your ways. I mean, after all, we Holdcraft men should stick together.
Sir?
Your college, Clark, your college. Didn't you graduate from Holdcraft?
Well, yes, Mr. Trimble, I did.
Well, there you are. So did I.
I know that, sir. You're one of our most distinguished alumni.
Oh, well. You get as old as I am, they have to say something nice about you. What was your fraternity?
Yeah, well, I sort of dropped out, sir.
Oh, I'm disappointed to hear that, Clark. Best days of a man's life. What was your affiliation?
Tau Alpha Gamma.
Well, then we'll have to see what we can do about reinstating you. You're going up to homecoming, of course.
Are you going, Mr. Trimble?
Haven't missed one in 36 years. Come to think of it, I don't remember ever seeing you at any of them.
Well, I'll tell you the truth, sir. I've never been to one.
Oh, it's a shame. Now, you come up this year. We'll see what we can do about making you a Tau Alpha Gamma again.
Yes, sir.
So, how nice to have had this talk.
That's all, Mr. Trimble?
Yes. I just wanted to get acquainted with a fellow collegiate. Sorry it took so long. You get back once a year to see the old alma mater. Keep up the good work here, and we'll be glad to have you aboard.
See what's got you in such a lather, Harry.
Helen, I just got through telling you.
So your boss suggests you should go off on a little jaunt to your college homecoming. What's so terrible?
He didn't suggest. It's an order.
All right. If it'll keep the old boy happy, it's no skin off your back, is it? You might even have a good time.
I won't have a good time.
All right, then. Don't go.
If I want to keep my job, I've got to go. That's the message I got today, loud and clear.
Nonsense.
Oh, it's true.
Sometimes I wonder about you, Harry.
Huh?
Honey, what is it makes you so uptight all the time? You're like Chicken Little, always afraid the sky is going to fall on you.
I'm sorry, Helen.
I always have the feeling that something haunts you way down deep, like it was something you buried a long time ago and keep being afraid wouldn't stay that way.
Oh, now you're being silly. There's hardly a thing in my life you don't know about. There's nothing wrong with us.
I'm terrified there is.
What do you mean?
Is it because I've never given you a child?
Oh, come on, honey. We've had that out long ago.
One of these days...
Oh, come on, honey. When it's meant to, it'll happen. Now, in the meantime, who's complaining?
I guess maybe I am.
Oh.
I find it gets sort of lonely around the house days, and now that you're going off on a weekend jaunt with the big boss and starting to plan nights out with the boys.
Hey, hold on, wait a minute. I'm not going with MJ. I'll have to get there by myself. And what's all this about going out nights with the boys?
Well, isn't one of the ideas you're going to join up with your old fraternity again?
No.
But I thought that was part of MJ Trimble's master plan for you.
I don't want to have anything more to do with Tau Alpha.
Why? Didn't you have a good time there?
No. Yeah. I mean, it's not my style.
I think maybe you ought to make it your style.
Look, let's stop talking about it. It just doesn't matter.
I think it does.
No, I'm not going.
Harry, now there's that old bugaboo again. Why are you so afraid of going back to a college you graduated from with honors?
It isn't the college.
I'll get it. Hello?
Hello? Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
MJ Trimble here. I wonder if I can speak to your husband.
How do you do, Mr. Trimble? Of course. It'll just take a moment to get him. He's in the other room.
Who is it? Why did you say I was in the other room?
It's Mr. Trimble. And I wanted to give you a chance to think before you talk to him.
Why? What does he want?
I don't know. But before you answer him, think, darling.
Oh, for heaven's sake, Helen, give me the phone. Hello, Mr. Trimble.
Clark? Boomer Johansson just called me. He won't be able to make it next week. He'll be out of the country on State Department business. You remember the old Boomer?
Yeah, well, I don't believe
The class of 38. Old Crap's first All-American. Anyway, since he had to cancel, that means there'll be an empty seat on our bank's jet. So, I'll fly you up and fly you back. Can I count on you?
Yes, Mr. Trimble. That's very kind of you, sir.
Nothing at all, my boy. Just gives you a notion what a fraternity brother can mean to you. Especially a big one. I'll have my secretary give you the flight time and any other pertinent details.
Well, what happened?
Well, he hung up.
What do you want?
He wants to fly me up to the homecoming.
And you accepted?
I didn't know how not to.
Oh, honey, I'm glad you did. I promise you, you'll never regret it.
I sure hope so.
Well, almost there. Look familiar to you, Clark?
Yeah, sort of, Mr. Trimble. It's a little different from the air.
Yeah. Well, there's the lake off to your left.
Uh-huh.
And up on the bluff beyond it, there's our alma mater. We'll be coming on in right over Devil's Leap on our landing pattern.
Devil's Leap?
You ever have to scale that southeast face there?
No, sir, I never did.
Oh, that used to be one of the big features of Hell Week. Well, they cut it out some years ago, probably before your time. Well, maybe they were right. A couple of weak sisters took some bad falls there. One of them was killed, I think. Still in all, it was a real thrill for a fella to climb that bleak old rock face. Give you a sense of power and belief in yourself. I suppose they took it easier on you in your day. The hazing, I mean.
No, sir. It was pretty tough.
Well, you minded that?
Oh, no, sir, I didn't. Not then.
Oh, Look there.
What's that, sir?
Don't you recognize it? Right near the bluff. Last house on the road there. That's the old Tower Alpha house. Recognize her now?
Yeah, I'll never forget it.
Found anyone you know yet, Clark?
No, not yet, Mr. Trimble.
Oh, well, you will. I'll have to leave you now. I've got a meeting of the Board of Governors over at the old frat house. I'll put in a good word for you. Where are you staying?
Ralston House.
Fine. You check for a message from me before you turn in. With any luck, it'll be word that you're reinstated without prejudice to membership in Tau Alpha Gamma. Now, you look for that message.
Oh, brother.
Hey! Harry! Is that you, old Harry the horse?
Buxton? Well, for Pete's sake. I was wondering when I'd run into somebody I knew.
Ah, you're a sight for sore eyes. Hey, where you been keeping yourself all these years?
Working, getting married, you know. Yeah, how about you?
I was married, but it didn't take. No kids. You? Maybe it's just as well.
What does that mean?
No, forget it. This isn't the place. But later, I gotta talk to you. I'm glad I found you here.
I don't know why I came. There's too many memories. Any of the others here?
No, we're all that's left, Harry.
What? What about Tom Pierce?
Oh, he died a couple of years ago. Drowned.
Gosh. Andy Hassler?
Oh, he's gone. He fell off a building. Jumped, some people said.
Well, wasn't he in real estate?
Yeah. He died 3 years ago. And, well, we might as well get it over with as fast as possible. Pete Stein died in the hospital after an appendicitis attack last year.
Oh, man. Well, that only leaves Joe Coslow. Any idea what happened to him?
I lost track of him after the Army busted him.
Busted him?
Stuck the killer in the brig.
Silly old nicknames. For what?
For manslaughter. He half killed a recruit. His nickname wasn't so silly.
The leopard never changes his spots, I guess. Is he still in the brig?
No.
How do you know?
Well, after Pete Stein got his, I got an Army buddy to check for me. Coslow's stretch was over September 28th, 1976. 17 days before Pete died. October 15th.
October 15th? That's the same day that Phil Fowler...
Yeah.
Oh, are you suggesting that the killer had anything to do with Pete's death?
Well, that's what I got to talk to you about. Because Andy and Tom died on the same date, too. I want to tell you, I'm scared stiff, Harry. I figure one of us has got to be next.
What do you suppose happened to 6 members of the class of 34 at Holcroft College that would make them candidates for sudden death? I did promise you that the dead past was going to invade the present, and it seems as if it has, with a vengeance. Now, was that just a cliche phrase, or prophetic? I shall return shortly with Act 2. It's a bright fall afternoon in late October, mild and balmy. The last rosy glow of Indian summer. But as Harry Clark strolls under the profusion of red gold leaves along a winding, deserted path on the campus, icy fingers clutch at his insides. His old classmate, Buck Stanley, is reeling out a string of coincidence and conjecture, building to a conclusion that shakes him to the core. For what Buck is saying confirms the premonition that has dogged him all the way up on this trip to the past.
Knock it off, Buck. What are you trying to give me?
A warning, Harry. at the very least.
What? That I'm next on the hit list?
It has to be you or me.
Oh, come on. What kind of rib is this?
Look, Harry, there were 6 of us in on it. Only one of us took any kind of real rap for it. The killer. He got bounced from school. It wrecked his life.
And you want to tell me that he's coming back for revenge on all of us? It just won't wash, Buck.
Why not?
First off, because... Well, the way you tell it, there wasn't a shred of evidence that Pete and Andy and Tom's deaths were anything but natural.
Except that each one of them died on the 15th of October, each just 1 year apart, and all of them after Joe Coslow was sprung out of the brig.
Oh.
Plus one other thing. You know what the 15th of October is.
Yeah, I'm not likely to forget.
So?
You said that Tom Pierce was drowned. How?
Well, all I know is what I got from the newspaper story I looked up in the library. He drowned in his pool.
Well, what about Andy? I didn't see anything about it. Where did he fall from?
Oh, some 2-bit hotel. They kind of hushed it up as much as possible. I went to the funeral. You remember he married Sarah Templeton?
He did?
Yeah. She took it pretty bad. I got the notion he'd been messing around with some other dame.
Suicide?
Yeah. I thought so then.
Well, now you don't think he jumped. You think he was pushed.
Yep.
And you don't think Tom just drowned by accident. You think the killer helped him somehow.
Yep.
Well, if you don't believe it was an accident, it could have been suicide also, couldn't it?
It could.
And Pete, a ruptured appendix. You can't make murder out of that.
They all died on the same date, Harry. How far can you stretch coincidence?
It doesn't have to be coincidence. Let's be sensible. Look, after what happened, none of us were ever quite the same. We've all carried our own guilt feelings, I guess. I know I have. About Phil Fowler.
Yeah, I'll never get that kid out of my mind.
Neither could Andy and Tom, it looks like.
You're telling me they took their own lives because they were remorseful or something?
All your old Army buddy told you was that the killer was supposed to be released on September 28th, 76. We don't know he was. For all we know, he could have been kept in another year or anything. Do you know where he was in the brig?
Well, in Germany, I guess. That's where he was stationed.
You see? Now, isn't it crazy? He could get back to the States within 17 days and somehow manage to knock off Tom in his own pool? And why would he wait a whole year to go after Andy? And another one for Pete, if he'd been nursing a grudge all this time. Like I say, Buck, you're flipping your lid over nothing. It just doesn't hold water.
Okay, you win. Harry, I want to believe you. You could be right. You make a lot of sense. Keeping a thing like this bottled up, I suppose a guy does get wacky ideas. And that killer Coslow.
Yeah, he made the same impression on me, but we were kids then. He doesn't scare me anymore.
How'd you enjoy your weekend on the old campus, son?
Well, I don't know if I can quite tell you, Mr. Trimble, how much.
Teach you to stay away from homecomings, eh?
I guess.
You look a whale of a lot better than when you came up. You feel better?
Yes, I do, sir. I got a lot of things straightened out in my head.
I'm going to tell you something frankly, Harry. When I put up your name for reinstatement and they opened the books for me, I was shaken. Here I was, sponsoring or trying to sponsor someone who walked out on us in the middle of his sophomore year. Now, don't interrupt me. You know me, I couldn't leave it like that. So I started digging, and the whole story came out.
About Phil Fowler?
Yes. Unfortunate thing, terrible thing. Nobody's fault, or if anyone's the culprit was suitably punished for it, that should be the end of it.
It's a matter I hope is closed for the rest of my life.
Darling, I can't tell you how happy and delighted I am.
About what?
You?
Oh, is there something new with me?
You know there is. Ever since you came back from your big rah-rah weekend, you've been a different person. You're the man I married again. What happened up there, Harry?
Where?
At dear old Holcraft.
Something I do have to tell you, Helen, someday.
Why not now?
No, not yet. Going back, I got a couple of things in perspective, at least. I should have gone back years ago, then it mightn't have haunted me so much. I don't want it to start haunting me again.
Why don't you tell me?
Oh, okay. Let me turn off the radio. When I went to Holcroft, there was a guy 2 classes ahead of me called Joe Coslow. He looked like King Kong. I was scared of him. We were all scared of him. He could have broken any of us in 2. We called him Killer Coslow.
Wasn't he a football player?
Yeah. Holcroft's only 2-time All-American, a fullback. The guy was a twisted, terrifying bully. I ought to know. He was the one who put me and all my closest friends through our hazing when we were bid to Tau Alpha Gamma.
He was a fraternity brother of yours?
We belonged to the same fraternity. He was no brother. He was just what he was nicknamed. A killer.
You mean he hurt you?
Tom Pierce, Sandy Hassler, Pete Stein, Buck Stanley, me. And we all had scars enough to prove that, but they don't matter. They didn't last. Phil Fowler wasn't so lucky.
I don't think I've ever heard you mention him.
Well, you haven't. I've been too ashamed to.
Why?
Because we killed Phil. All 6 of us killed him.
Well, what do you mean?
5 of us were sophomores. Killer was a senior. He organized all the hazing. He liked that. And he had everyone so intimidated we were scared to question him. It was the end of Hell Week, and Phil Fowler was freshman pledged to us. We were the fraternity to belong to on our campus. And to get in, any kid was ready to bust his butt. So the killer was going to make sure he did. Over our objections, he decreed Phil had to go through a trial by fire.
What does that mean?
Well, he made Phil strip and told us all to light cigarettes. Then he told Phil we were going to grind them out on his bare skin after he was blindfolded.
Oh, the rest of you went along with that?
It was a trick, Helen, just mental suggestion. All we'd have done was touched him with a piece of ice.
I don't understand.
The power of suggestion. You're conditioned the victim so that he thinks he's being burned. But just the same, none of us wanted to go through with it.
And did you?
No. Because Phil was so scared that while we were arguing, he ran for the door and took off into the night.
Did you go after him?
You're darn right. Listen, it was October 15th. We'd had a cold snap that year, and it was below freezing. And Phil was in his birthday suit.
You found him and dragged him back?
We didn't find him. It was a pitch-black night, and there were thick woods between the fraternity house and the lake. The whole killer was fit to be tied, but we were all relieved. Till the next morning.
The next morning?
There's a bluff called the Devil's Leap right near the Tau Alpha house. It's a 200-foot drop to the lake shore. They found Phil there with a broken neck. In the dark, he must have run right off the cliff.
Oh, how awful.
There was an investigation. Very hush-hush, of course. And the verdict was accidental death. Only it wasn't. We killed him.
But you didn't. It was all that Killer Coslow's fault.
That's what the chancellor and the deans decided. Tom and me and the others were allowed to stay on at college. Coslow was expelled.
He promised us all he'd be back someday to get even with us.
But he never did.
No. I kept thinking he would, but as the years went by, I accepted it as just a threat.
And that's what you told your friend Buck.
Because I believed it. Then.
You don't believe it now?
No. I've carried the guilt too long. I'm terrified that somehow it's going to catch up with me.
How?
I don't know. If the 15th comes and goes, then maybe I can relax.
And if it doesn't?
Well, there's a 50-50 chance I won't be around to worry. Because if Joe Coslow is on the loose and out for revenge, it's only a question which one of us will be first. Buck Stanley or me?
And though circuitous and obscure, the feet of Nemesis, how sure. Those are the lines of the Victorian poet Sir William Watson. And Nemesis is the ancient Greek goddess of retribution, who takes many forms. Is the form in this case the hulking figure of the brooding, brutal killer Coslow? I shall return shortly with Act 3. Omar Khayyam wrote, "'Tis all a checkerboard of nights and days, where destiny with men for pieces plays." That seems totally contradictory to the American belief in free choice. Yet, when you come right down to day-to-day living, how many of us have the strength to exercise it? Instead, in common with people all over the rest of the world, we find ourselves prisoners of the past and hostages to our future, as Harry Clark finds himself now.
Harry? Harry? 7 o'clock. Time to get up.
I don't want to get up.
You don't want to be late for the bank, do you?
Oh, I didn't mean because of the bank. I'm afraid to get up.
Why?
Oh, you know what date this is?
I know. Darling.
What?
Promise me something.
What?
I know the day has got to be lived through. But once we're through with this 15th of October, can we please wash it out of our lives for good?
Yeah, I hope. I hope as much as you that we can.
Will you be late tonight?
Yeah, probably. I'll be reconciling the books and we'll all be locked in the cage till they prove out.
That's good. You'll be safe. Hello?
Oh, hello. Is this Mrs. Clark?
That's right.
This is Buck Stanley. I'm an old friend of your husband's.
Oh, yes, I know. We've been talking a lot about you.
I don't mean to be rude, Mrs. Clark, but this isn't a social call. Is Harry there?
No, I'm sorry. He's at the bank.
Oh, well, look, could you give me the number?
It wouldn't do any good. You couldn't reach him.
Oh, when can I reach him?
Well, I could give him a message as soon as he gets home.
All right. Tell him to call immediately. I'll be waiting. My number here is code 901-555-5111. I'm in Toledo. Do you have that?
Yes. Any message?
Tell him it is literally a matter of life and death. Tell him that he's turned up again. That we were wrong. It isn't over and done with, not by a long shot.
What do you mean? Hello? Hello? Mr. Stanley? Mr. Stanley, can you hear me? What's happened?
What time did Buck call?
About 4 o'clock.
It's almost 6 now. He didn't say what it was all about?
Harry, I told you all he said.
What did he mean by he's turned up again?
Well, who else could it be but Joe Coslow?
Then why didn't he just say that?
Well, I suppose because, well, he didn't think I would know what he was referring to.
Maybe. Why doesn't he answer? Buck?
Who is this?
Is this Buck Stanley's wire?
Yes? Who wants to talk to him?
Well, this is a friend of his from Cleveland.
What's the name?
Harry Clark. Who's this?
This is Detective Sergeant Kennelly, Mr. Clark. I'm afraid you can't talk to Mr. Stanley.
Why not?
Because he's dead.
Dead? How?
Well, I can't answer that all the way. We just got here. All I know so far is he was shot with a .45 caliber revolver, Army issue.
You mean he took his own life?
Well, I can't tell you that either. Sir, do you have any reason to suspect he might not have? That someone else was involved?
Well, I hope that any suspicions I might have are wrong. Where would I find you in Toledo, Detective Kennelly?
At the 17th Precinct, but...
I'd rather drive to Toledo and discuss that in person.
What's happened?
It's Buck Stanley. He's dead.
How?
That policeman on the phone said suicide.
Well, so why do you have to go to Toledo?
To see for myself, Helen.
Darling, this whole thing has become an obsession with you. Oh, I don't blame you. It was a terrible thing, that young boy meeting his death the way he did. But it was an accident.
An accident that would never have happened if he hadn't been scared out of his wits.
You are just determined to punish yourself for what happened, Harry. No matter what I say. Now, it's psychotic to carry such a guilt. It's an obsession.
Never mind about me, Helen. Let's just stick to killer Joe Coslow. Whatever remorse he feels about that poor kid, Phil Fowler, is all swallowed up in his fixation that he took the whole blame and we railroaded him. If anyone has an obsession, it's him. And if I'm right, I have to be the next because I'm the only one left. Do you want him to kill me, too?
No.
All right, then somehow he's got to be stopped. That's why Toledo. To see if I can get the police to do it. Because if I can't...
If you can't?
Then I'll have to find him wherever he is and... kill him first.
You can see for yourself, Mr. Clark. It's a classical suicide picture. He was seated at the desk. The bullet was directed directly to the brain. Death was instantaneous. The gun dropped from his hand to the floor, and there are no other prints on it than those of the deceased. I'm afraid you've had a long trip for nothing.
In spite of what I told you?
Yeah, we're checking all through that now, but to the best of our knowledge, there was no one like the man you describe in Mr. Clayton's acquaintance. And we have no reason to suspect anything except death by his own hand.
You're absolutely sure of that?
Mr. Clark, in my business, you learn to be absolutely sure of nothing. We live by a series of educated guesses.
So you're just going to let this go at that?
No, sir. I don't close any files till I'm certain. Because of you, this one's going to remain open until...
Until what?
Well, until we check out this Joseph Coslow of yours.
Are you working on that now?
Mr. Clark, I'm only one detective sergeant in the Toledo police force. I got all I can handle with my own local problem. But for your information and my own, I am checking. But I can't do what you want me to do, get results yesterday or even today. You're just going to have to wait till tomorrow. And the best I can promise you is I'll stay on it and keep in touch.
It's awfully important to me.
Yeah. You drew me a picture.
I believe my life depends on it.
Sir, if I get word, I'll be in touch.
And if I don't hear from you?
Well, then we're both out of answers. And that's what we got to live with.
Yes?
Mrs. Clark, I'm M.J. Trimble.
Oh, yes, from the bank. Won't you come in?
Thank you, my dear.
I just wanted to have a few words with your husband.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Harry isn't here.
Oh, he's not? Do you expect him home soon?
I'm afraid not. He had to drive to Toledo.
Oh, well, then you don't expect him back tonight?
I don't know. I'm waiting to hear from him.
What took him so suddenly to Toledo?
Well, he got news that an old friend, a fraternity brother of his, had died.
Joe Coslow?
Oh, no, his name was Buck Stanley. But why would you mention Joe Coslow?
I had some news about him, and I thought your husband would like to hear.
What?
Well, let me explain a little first. When I dragooned your husband into going up with me for homecoming, I had no idea what sad memories our fraternity had for him. Subsequently, I found out. In proposing him to return to our membership, the story came out.
That a young boy died.
Yes.
And who did you conclude was responsible for that, Mr. Trimble?
If anyone, I'm ashamed to say the system.
Well, that's a generous admission, but how does it help anyone who was the victim of the system, like my husband?
Well, since I'm part of the hierarchy, what else can I do but accept that the basic guilt is mine?
Well, it would be a little late to tell Harry that. He's borrowed all the guilt for himself.
Well, that's ridiculous, and it's why I'm here tonight.
Oh?
I wanted to tell Harry that the man who created this whole issue in the first place is dead.
Joe Coslow?
Yes. He's been dead for the last 5 years.
How?
Well, there was a fire in the jailhouse in which he was assigned 2 days before his sentence was up, in 1976. He died in that fire.
Are you sure?
There's no doubt. His body was identified through dental work, fingerprints, bone scans. Joe Coslow is dead. I wish there was some way I could get in touch with your husband.
Maybe there is. We could call him through that sergeant of police at the precinct in Toledo.
Yeah, this is Detective Sergeant Kennelly. Oh, Mrs. Clark, yeah, sure. Well, no, your husband was here, but he left to drive home to Cleveland over an hour ago. What? No. Well, we talked about the guy Coslow, but neither of us knew he was dead. He wanted me to look into that, but to tell you the truth, I told him I would just to keep him happy. Huh? Oh, well, because it was an open and shut case of suicide. No way it could have been murder, no matter how much your husband wanted to make it look that way. What? What do I mean by that? Well, let me just lay it on the line, Mrs. Clark. Your husband has a guilty conscience for something that happened all them years ago. And he'd like to lay the blame off on somebody else. Only it don't work that way. That's something he's got to learn to face.
I should have called Helen to let her know I was on my way home. It's too late now. I don't want to stop in this weather.
Perhaps it's just as well, Harry.
Phil Fowler. What are you doing here in the car?
It's still not quite midnight, Harry. This is my one day on Earth each year.
So it was you. It never was Joe Coslow who was looking for revenge. It was you all the time.
Quite right, Harry.
You killed them all.
Oh, no. Correction, please. They destroyed themselves, just as all of you destroyed me.
What did you mean when you said it was just as well I hadn't stopped to call Helen to tell her I was coming home?
Isn't that obvious? You're never going to get home.
I won't let you stop me.
Oh, I won't stop you. You'll do that yourself.
What do you mean?
You've lived with it for over 15 years, Harry. Just like the others. You know there's only one way you'll ever get rid of what haunts you.
How?
I never managed to join your fraternity. Instead, I ask you to join mine. It's the only way you'll ever know peace.
There were many tragic automobile accidents on the night of that October 15th. Highway police had issued a traffic advisory because of weather conditions. Harry Clark's death from the skid that sent him hurtling through the guardrail and into the ravine below was only another statistic. But was it an accident? Or was he called, just as all the others who bore the guilt for a boy's death so many years before? I'll be back shortly. Was our story one of deep remorse? I don't know. I leave you only with another quote from Omar Khayyam. The moving finger writes, and having writ, moves on. Nor all the piety nor wit shall lure it back to cancel half a line, nor all your tears wash out a word of it. Our cast included Jack Grimes, Malika Gray, Court Benson, and Russell Horton. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. Psychiatrists have sought the answers to puzzling facets of human behavior for years. Today, we speak freely of phobias, unexplained psychotic experiences. But in the year 1793, a humane, enlightened physician of the infamous mental institution at La Bicêtre, a hellhole by any description, was brought to trial for daring to treat mental patients like human beings. He himself was called mad for, as the court put it, freeing the beasts from their chains. But as I said, times have changed. The story we're about to tell you about the horrors that took place in a similar institution is true. But it never really could have happened. Not here. Not yet. Not now. Our mystery drama, Free the Beast, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Ralph Goodwin and stars Paul Hecht. The elderly patients at the formidable isolated Greenbrier Sanitarium have been restless all day. And now that night is closing in and the intensity of the darkening clouds increase, the doctors and nurses double their rounds. The resident psychiatrist, Dr. Paul Thurman, has begun his nightly round of the 3rd floor. Patients on this floor, although completely harmless, do need his personal attention. Most are alone in the world, deserted by friends and family. He pauses a moment outside one of the doors because he hears an unfamiliar voice.
Yes, I have watched them. Each night I have watched. Listened.
A strange voice, one he cannot identify, seems to be coming from Miss Agatha's room. But that is not possible. Miss Agatha has been at Briarwood for almost a year and has spoken to no one.
Be calm, little sister. Nothing will harm you. I've always looked after you, and I shall continue to look after you as long as we both shall live.
Miss Agatha.
Yes, Doctor?
Oh, you're alone. I thought...
Yes, Doctor?
I could have sworn I heard...
Heard what?
Well, I thought... Strange, there's no one here in the room with you, and yet...
Yet what, Doctor?
I distinctly heard a voice. Oh, not your voice, Miss Agatha, but an older voice. A woman, 70 or 80.
You must be mistaken, Doctor.
She called you little sister.
I have no sister.
Yes, I know that.
But I do have a puzzle for you.
A puzzle?
Brothers and sisters, I have none. But that woman's mother is my mother's daughter. Who am I?
Miss Agatha...
No, stop. Make them stop, Doctor. That noise.
Oh, just a summer night storm, Miss Agatha. You're safe here.
Yes. Nothing here can harm me.
That's right. Now, lie back. Close your eyes and go to sleep. I must check on the other patients.
Yes, Doctor. They need watching. The dangerous ones. They hate me. They all hate me.
You must get some sleep. It's very late.
Yes. You're right, Doctor. It is very late. For the dangerous ones. It's later than you think.
But I tell you, I heard it, Margaret.
But it's hard to believe, Paul. A strange, disembodied voice coming from Miss Agatha's room? And you went into the room and saw nothing?
Nothing but Miss Agatha sitting up in bed. She was terrified of the storm, and the voice was calming her.
It's strange.
I know there was someone or something in there talking to her.
But it sounds so illogical. But there's only one door leading to each of those upstairs rooms. The windows are barred and... Darling, are you sure?
Of the voice, yes. But where it vanished to, no.
Could she have been talking to herself?
Well, she never has. Besides, the voice was so different. The entire quality of that voice, it was so much older, raspier. I tell you, Margaret, something strange, something unexplainable took place on that 3rd floor last night.
If I may say so, Doctor, considering you are an accredited psychiatrist, you're acting weird.
The word, darling, is weirdly. I'm not acting weirdly, just cautiously. There is one thing you can do, sweetheart.
What's that?
Let's start by pulling the file on Miss Agatha. See if she has any relatives she hasn't told us about.
Relatives? Miss Agatha? Oh, she doesn't have. I mean, I've gone over her file a number of times since she was admitted. She's an only child.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
That voice, the voice I heard in her room, it called her little sister.
Look, Paul, I know I shouldn't attempt any psychiatric explanations, but you know how lonesome Miss Agatha is, never making friends with the other patients here.
What are you getting at?
Well, it's a theory that's usually applied to children, but considering how far Miss Agatha has regressed, isn't it possible that she's invented a playmate, a protective, playmate, an older sister.
That's a good try, but just you concentrate on being beautiful, huh? Let me concentrate on what I heard in that empty room last night.
You still insist there was someone in there?
Someone or something. I know that's, as you say, weird for an accredited psychiatrist to suggest. But go through Miss Agatha's file once more. And if she hasn't got an older sister, well, we'd better start looking for an 80-year-old patient in this institution who can walk through walls. This is a progress report dated the 28th. Patient Miss Agatha Milford, age 37. Patient not adjusting to confinement. Resistance to group therapy aggravated by persecution complex. Oh, yeah, come in. Patient is convinced that members of group are hostile to her.
Sounds like you're reporting on Miss Agatha, right?
Right. I'll be with you in a minute, Margaret. Just let me complete this tape.
I brought her file. Everything I could find on her.
Oh, well, in that case, I'm with you right now.
I dug up everything I could find on her.
Good. I'll do my report again later after we check what you have.
But it's a waste of time, really.
Huh?
I don't have a thing. No brothers, no sisters. She has none.
Brothers and sisters, I have none. But that woman's mother is my mother's daughter.
What?
That's what Miss Agatha said last night. When I heard that strange voice in her room, I asked if she had a sister. She said no. Then she added, brothers and sisters, I have none, but that woman's mother is my mother's daughter.
Oh, I've heard that riddle before. But isn't it son? I mean, that man's father is my father's son?
Yeah, but not the way she says it.
What does it mean?
I don't know. Right now, I don't know anything for sure. I don't even know if I actually heard that voice coming from Miss Agatha's room.
But you said that...
Oh, I heard a voice, all right. It wasn't Miss Agatha. It sounded like it came from her room, but could it have come from somewhere else?
Where? The rooms are 30 feet apart. If it came from the next room, if Mrs. Haverstrom's room,
No. It couldn't have come from Haverstrom's room. I passed there. All was quiet. It came from the far end of the hall. I wonder...
What?
Oh, no. Never mind. Let's see that file, huh?
Here you are. Oh, and talking about Mrs. Haverstrom.
Yeah?
Well, she and Miss Agatha got into another one of their brawls this morning.
Oh, no. What about?
Same thing. Miss Agatha still insists that the gold locket Haverstrom wears around her neck is hers. You know, the one with the picture of Haverstrom's father in it.
Yeah, what's this? What's this entry here? It's hardly legible. Look, it's some sort of legal document. It seems to be rain damaged. Well, what is it?
Adoption papers.
Adoption papers?
Yeah. 1936 or 39. I can't quite make it out. An adoption agency in Greenville Township. That's just across the county line.
The name on the document is Milford.
Yeah.
That first name looks like it could be Agatha.
Yeah?
You know, I bet if we checked this out, we'd find it's Miss Agatha who was adopted.
But it's funny she never mentioned it.
Well, she may not know. Most adopted children are never told. Agency records are confidential. But I think we've come up with a lead.
A lead? When she doesn't know she's adopted and agency records are top secret? What kind of a lead is that?
That's a tough one, I'll admit. But with a little digging, we may find out more about our strange Miss Agatha. Now, what was that about the locket?
The usual. Miss Agatha insists that the locket is hers. And this time she tried to tear it off Mrs. Haverstrom's neck. And, well, Haverstrom swung her cane at her. But fortunately she missed.
That Haverstrom locket?
It could be Agatha's, you know.
Well, I don't see how. Agatha Milford came here less than a year ago. I mean, look at her record. Here's what she brought with her. Just a few personal belongings, items supplied by county hospital. Oh, no jewelry.
I see.
Well, just keep Haverstrom and Miss Agatha separated, will you?
Yes, Doctor. And the voice in the night.
That I intend to check out further.
How?
From now on, I'm not making those spooky nightly rounds alone.
I don't blame you.
Starting tonight, you're going with me. Well, 10 o'clock. Time to make the rounds. Someone covering for you down here?
Yes, one of the matrons.
All right, let's be off, shall we? Just a few more steps to the top. Oh, Careful. The railing here is not too secure.
Railing? This entire third floor is ancient. If you ask me, we ought to close down the whole building. At least this crumbling railing should be replaced. Paul, if you'd only talk to the correction board, they might be... What's that?
I don't know. It's coming from the far end of the hall.
Miss Agatha's room?
Let's see, shall we? Yeah, those are the same sounds I heard last night.
Don't cry, little one. There's no need to cry. I'm here with you always.
That! The other voice. Did you hear it?
I don't know. I heard the wind.
You are not alone, little sister. You need fear nothing or no one. Do not cry. I will never leave you.
Is it a voice or is it the wind? I can't quite understand the words, and yet...
Listen.
There's nothing to fear, my little sister. No one will harm you. I've always looked after you. I will continue to look after you until death do us part.
It's a weird voice. It's certainly not Miss Agatha's.
Please.
Tell me, little sister, why do you weep? Is it about the locket? Your locket? The one that's been taken from you?
Yes, the locket. That Haverstrom woman still has it. She tried to kill me. I wish she were dead.
She's talking to herself about that fight she had with Mrs. Haverstrom this morning.
Yeah.
Or is she talking to herself?
I want it, sister. I want it. That locket is mine. Mother gave it to me. You were there. You remember?
Yes, I remember, little sister. The locket is yours. And you shall have it. I promise.
Wait. Don't go.
I must, little sister. I must.
The voice. Listen, it's fading.
Quick, open the door.
I can't. It's locked.
The keys. Use the keys.
Sister, please, come back.
Damn it, the keys. I don't have them. Miss Agatha. Miss Agatha, it's Dr. Thurman. Let me in.
No, doctor, go away. I'm asleep. I must rest.
Please, Miss Agatha, Nurse Palmer is with me. I must talk to you. Please. Please let us in.
Well, what have we here? A ghostly, disembodied voice that makes nightly visits to one of the lonely inmates of Greenbrier Sanatorium? Has Miss Agatha invented an older sister to console her in her loneliness? Dr. Thurman seems convinced that the voice he hears is not that of Miss Agatha. But for the moment, he has chosen not to make a hasty decision, convinced that there is more to what is going on than meets the ears. We'll learn more when I return shortly with Act 2. Over 600 years ago, back in the 15th century, two scholarly monks compiled a book of horrors called Malleus Maleficarum, a definitive study of mental illness that proved conclusively that the poor tortured souls chained in the snake pits were not ill, but unwillingly possessed by demons and witches. Two cures were suggested by these enlightened scholars: cleansing fire to be used against witches, and torture on the rack to discourage invading demons. It is recorded that both of these cures worked permanently, but that was yesterday. Morning has come to Briarwood. The strange voice that haunts the third floor still remains a mystery. Dr. Thurman is seated in his office, recording the case history of the frightened, uncommunicative Miss Agatha Milford.
The possibility of schizophrenia exists. Further testing is called for. Oh, yes, come in.
Hey, good morning, Doc. How's it going?
Oh, Connolly, I'm just taping more about that strange experience I've been telling you about. Hang on a minute, I'll shut off this tape recorder.
You know, that's a great way to keep records.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to buy one of those gadgets for the agency. How's our suspect, Miss Agatha, doing?
Oh, please, let's not refer to her as a suspect. She's a patient, one we know very little about. That's why I called you in. Did you have any luck tracing those adoption papers? Is the agency still in existence?
You know, you're lucky, Doc. That adoption agency is still in existence, and I was able to get a look at their files. I got it all right here.
I appreciate the effort you're putting into this.
Well, you're an old friend, Doc. For clients, we do the possible. For friends, the impossible.
Thanks, Connolly. Would you let me see the file?
Now, hold it. This is a favor, right, Doc? So why don't you let me read it to you? Feed you a clue at a time so as I can get more than just one pat on the back for being so clever.
Yeah, sounds like you hit the jackpot.
Yeah, kind of. Now, to understand this complicated dossier, we'll have to start here on page 7 and work our way backwards.
Connolly.
Relax, will you, please? Let's see. First, we have the patient's transfer from Greenfield to Briarwood, the newspaper clippings, then the murders.
Murders?
I'm coming to them. Here we are. Milford, Agatha, natural parents.
Natural?
Your hunch was right, Doc. She was adopted.
Then the name of the child on the adoption papers, the name we couldn't read?
Agatha Ann Milford. Adopted daughter of Charles and Henrietta Milford. Her real mother was named Mason. Carrie Lee Mason. She worked as a lab technician at Mercy Hospital. That's where the child was born. A few months before the trial took place.
Trial?
Yeah. It seems Miss Agatha's mother was some sort of nurse's aide at the hospital, took care of terminally ill patients. And she was a very sympathetic woman. Unfortunately, too sympathetic.
What does that mean?
Well, according to these newspaper clippings I dug up at the library, dated September 1939, the supposedly kindly Mrs. Mason was accused, and later convicted, of the murder of 6 of her patients. She simply turned off the oxygen supply and let nature take its course, which, of course, was inevitable. Only the jury judged it to be murder in the first degree.
Oh, poor woman. Watching those patients suffer day after day. Wasn't the pressure that she was under taken into consideration by the court?
Ah, but that's just the point. Evidence in the trial showed that she was under no pressure at all before, during, or after the murders. According to her testimony, she just, followed orders.
Orders?
She said a voice told her to do it. It's all here in this newspaper account. It seems our Mrs. Mason heard voices in the night. Voices that calmed her and comforted her in times of trouble. And voices that told her how to comfort others.
Good Lord. Like mother, like daughter.
What?
Oh, no, nothing. Go on. What else do you have there? This woman, Mrs. Mason, Miss Agatha's mother, did she have any other children?
Other children?
Yeah, sons, daughters. Particularly daughters. A girl, perhaps, older than Miss Agatha.
Oh, at least not according to the records I've dug up. Mrs. Mason had no other children. Miss Agatha was an only child.
Are you sure? It's important. Could there possibly be a sister, an older sister?
Oh, you mean that voice you've been hearing, huh? I'm sorry, Doc. There's no answer on that. When the Mason woman was sent up for the murders, her child was put up for adoption. Miss Agatha, that is. Her only child. Now, of course, there are skeletons in every closet if you want me to dig deeper.
Yeah, I wish you would.
Well, sure, old buddy, I will.
The easy way out is to classify Miss Agatha as a schizophrenic.
You mean that Miss Agatha and her sister may be the same person?
Yeah.
Only you don't really believe that.
No, not after the studies I've made so far. There are reasons too complicated to go into.
Yeah. Well, if I can be of any help.
Thanks, you have been. Oh, by the way, is there a picture of Miss Agatha's father in those clippings?
Yeah, I believe there is. Wait a minute. Yeah, here we are. Nice-looking guy.
Yeah.
Mustache, long sideburns. Looks like Valentino, huh? Why?
Oh, we've had a little dispute over a gold locket. It belongs to Mrs. Havestrom. Inside the locket is a picture of her father. Miss Agatha claims the locket is hers.
Well, here, take the picture. Compare it. That'll take care of one problem.
I hope so. I've had to lock Miss Agatha in her room. I had a padlock installed last night. At least I know she'll be safe until this petty bickering is over with, and we can try to trace that strange voice we've been hearing.
Well, if you hear two voices coming out of there now, you'll know it's just another case of schizophrenia.
Yeah, I hated to have to do it. Miss Agatha is not a violent person. She must have been terrified when Mrs. Haverstrom swung that cane at her.
Oh? Sounds to me like you locked up the wrong patient.
Mrs. Haverstrom is not violent by nature. Look, there's too much to explain. If you'll let me have that photo, she'll prove once and for all who the owner of that locket is. Oh, excuse me. Sure. Dr. Thurman speaking. What? When did it happen? Miss Agatha, where is she? I see. Yeah. I'll be right there. Well, we won't need that photo after all, Connolly. Mrs. Haverstrom is dead.
What? Dead?
The third floor railing. It's needed repairs for months. The poor crippled old woman must have leaned against it. She just fell to her death down 3 flights of stairs.
Well, look, could she have been pushed?
Look, I'm sorry. I can't discuss this any further. I gotta get to the infirmary.
Slow down, Paul. I can't keep up with you.
I'm sorry, Margaret. I'm anxious to check out Miss Agatha's room. I just don't understand how Mrs. Haverstrom got out of her room and over to that shaky railing alone. Where was the third floor matron, huh?
She was called away for a few moments.
I've told you never to leave the third floor unattended.
She was only gone for a short while. You heard me tell that to the police.
They're taking the body away. When this gets out, Margaret, I just can't understand what happened. Come on. Let's get to Miss Agatha's room.
All right, Doctor. I'm sure you'll find everything in order. Door locked since last night, as per your instructions. Padlock on, also locked.
I don't think so, Miss...
Connolly, what are you doing up here?
Just a little checking, Doc. What I found isn't too pleasant.
Who is this man?
I'm sorry, Margaret, this is Charles Connolly, detective.
Detective?
Private detective, a friend of mine. He's been checking into Miss Agatha's background for me.
Whatever for?
I wanted to find out more about her. I told him about the argument she had with Mrs. Haverstrom over that locket.
That Haverstrom woman didn't fall down that flight of stairs by accident.
What are you trying to say, Connolly?
The woman was dragged from her room and tossed through that rotted railing. She was murdered.
What?
And I didn't say anything in front of the police. I mean, they accepted it as an accident, but someone carried her to that railing and pushed her over. And my guess would be Miss Agatha.
But that's impossible. She's been locked in her room since midnight.
Well, that remains to be seen. Where's her room?
At the end of the corridor. But even if she did get out, she couldn't lift a 200-pound arthritic patient like Mrs. Haverstrom.
The woman wasn't lifted. She was dragged along the floor. I found black heel marks leading to the edge of the stairs and the end of the broken railing.
Let's get to her room.
Okay, right with you, Doc.
How could Miss Agatha get out of her room? It was bolted from the outside, reinforced by a security lock. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, I'm afraid there's just no other answer.
There's got to be another answer.
Huh?
Up ahead. You see that room at the far end of the hall? Huh? Well, that's Miss Agatha's room. And even from here, you can see that the padlock is still on and it's still intact.
Well, I'll be... Yeah, not a mark on it. It sure looks okay. It's solid, sturdy. Who has the key?
I do. If you gentlemen will step aside,
Well, good morning, Doctor. It's such a beautiful morning, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, it is, Miss Agatha. You slept well, I trust?
Oh, very well, Doctor. I see you've brought some visitors. Nurse Palmer.
Good morning, Miss Agatha.
And a gentleman I don't believe I've met before.
This is Mr. Connolly, Charles Connolly, an old friend. He just stopped by to say hello, meet some of our new patients.
How nice. A pleasure to meet you, Mr. Connolly.
Well, thank you, Miss Agatha.
And may I say you've come to the right place.
I beg your pardon?
Well, I mean, it doesn't look like much from the outside, but it's so pleasant here. Everyone is so nice.
Oh, yeah, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Even Mrs. Haverstrom. She was trouble for a while, but everything is fine now. It's all been taken care of.
It has?
Yes. Doctor, I have a confession to make. That was my sister you heard me talking to in my room. I didn't want to admit it because of sanitarium rules. No visitors after 8 o'clock. But since she won't be coming back anymore, I can admit that she's been here. Because everything is all right again.
What do you mean, everything is all right again?
Well, look, Doctor. Look what I have around my neck.
Good Lord. Mrs. Haverstrom's locket.
Despite evidence to the contrary, Dr. Thurman still insists that his initial psychological diagnosis of Miss Agatha was correct. Convinced that this frail, frightened woman could not possibly be involved in anything as horrible as murder. Let's hope Paul Thurman is right. Because if he is not, he could be dead wrong. We'll learn more when I return shortly with Act 3. The strange death of Mrs. Haverstrom at the Briarwood Mental Institution could, by those untrained in psychiatric research, be simply diagnosed as madness. Wasn't it Lewis Carroll's observation in Alice in Wonderland that went something like this? "How do you know I'm mad?" Alice remarked. "You must be," said the cat, "or you would not be here." A simple solution to our mystery, I must admit. But not for those of us who have been expertly trained in madness and murder. We need more time to contemplate, consider, to separate the half-lies from the truths. Listen.
And since the death of Mrs. Haverstrom, continued attempts made by staff members to remove the golden locket from Miss Agatha's throat have made the patient exceedingly hostile. She has become suspicious of all who enter her room and is now refusing food unless served by the one staff member she trusts, Nurse Palmer. Oh, yes, come in. All attempts to gain access to gold locket have failed.
Until this morning, Paul. Look, the locket.
Yes. How did you get it?
She held it a little too tightly this morning. The clasp broke, and I told her I'd have it repaired and bring it right back.
As simple as that?
Where is the picture of the father that Mr. Conley gave you? I want to compare it with the one Mrs. Haverstrom showed me. I've been trying to open that clasp, but it seems to be jammed.
Oh, here, give it to me. Let me do that. You'll find a newspaper clipping in that desk drawer, the one on the left.
I'll get the picture.
Okay.
You work on that clasp. Were these the clippings?
Yeah. This clasp seems to be bent. I'll get it in a minute. Do you remember what the man in the locket looked like? Was he young, old?
Young man, about 30.
Well, that sounds about right. Man in the newspaper clipping was about 30.
Sort of plain looking, slightly balding.
Plain looking? Balding?
What's wrong?
A mustache or long sideburns?
No. Mrs. Haverstrom's father was clean-shaven, heavy features. It was a tintype. I guess it must have been taken in the early 20s.
Well, it's not the same man.
It's not?
No. Here, give me the clippings. I'll show you. See, there. That's Miss Agatha's father. There, young, dashing, handsome. Looks a lot like Valentino, huh?
Oh, we darned all this trouble for nothing.
Yeah. I finally got this locket open. There, you see... Oh, no.
What's the matter? Paul, what is it?
The photo in the locket. It's neither the man you described nor the man in the clipping. It's a photo of a woman. An old woman in her 80s who looks exactly like Miss Agatha.
And so I rushed right over to your office, Mr. Conley. I brought the locket with me. And inside you'll find the picture of that strange woman that we found when we opened it.
Could I see that locket, Miss Palmer?
All right, but I have to bring it right back. Miss Agatha found out I showed it to Dr. Thurman. She's very upset. She says she told her night visitor, the avenging sister, about Dr. Thurman refusing to return her locket.
Which means he's next on her list. On somebody's list. Can I look at that locket, please?
Oh, yes, of course. Here.
Thank you.
The clasp is still jammed, so I left it open, you see.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's the photo that we found inside the locket. It looks exactly like Miss Agatha, only 30 years older.
Yeah. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? And you have no idea how this photo got in here, hmm?
No. I mean, we still have no idea how Miss Agatha got the locket in the first place. The last time I saw it, Mrs. Haverstrom was wearing it.
Yeah, I know.
And when Mrs. Haverstrom fell through the railing to her death down that flight of stairs, Miss Agatha was locked in her room.
How many keys are there to that padlock?
You still insist Miss Agatha had something to do with Mrs. Haverstrom's death. But in order to do that, she'd have had to have help from the outside. An accomplice at the sanitarium.
How many keys, Miss Palmer?
2. Mine and Dr. Thurman's. Oh. Since Dr. Thurman is an old friend of yours, I suppose that puts me in the category of being a prime suspect.
No, I didn't say that. You did.
But you didn't say I'm not. If anyone had the opportunity to assist Miss Agatha in this, what you call, madness, I did.
Yeah, Miss Palmer, I've thought of that. I mean, you turned the 3rd floor over to a matron that night, right? Then sent her on some sort of errand.
What do you mean, some sort of errand? We have a diabetic patient under our care, Mr. Conley. I sent the matron to give that patient an insulin shot.
Was the patient on the 3rd floor?
No. No, she's in Ward 1 on the main floor.
Then that would leave the 3rd floor unsupervised, huh? And it would give you time enough to accomplish whatever you wished, unobserved.
I resent this.
Time enough maybe to smother Mrs. Haverstrom with a pillow, drag her to the top of the stairs, and toss her to her death through the rotted railing?
Is that an accusation?
No, Miss Palmer. It's just a theory.
All right. And how do you explain the locket that we found around Miss Agatha's neck?
Well, you have a key to her room. You could have slipped in, placed the locket around her neck while she slept.
And the photo, Mr. Conley? I assume you have an answer on that, too. Where would I have gotten a photo of an old woman who looks exactly like Miss Agatha?
From one of the newspaper clippings I left with Dr. Thurman. The Carrie Lee Mason file. A duplicate of the one I keep here in my desk drawer. Would you like to see the clipping, Miss Palmer? A recent clipping?
Mr. Conley, I've been patient until
Here
now.
is what Carrie Lee Mason looks like today.
The same photo. It's exactly the same as the one in the locket.
Oh, not quite, Miss Palmer. You see, the prison guards have been cut away to make the photo fit in the locket frame. Easily enough done with, a pair of surgical scissors.
I've had enough.
I haven't. Now, I've checked out this sister theory Paul Thurman keeps insisting on, and so far I've come up with nothing. My partner Ross is out on it right now.
You've had less than 48 hours.
He's going to come up with nothing, Miss Palmer. The prison is in Greenville. He's there now checking their records, and it's a waste of time.
If you don't find any record of an older sister, then there has to be some other answer. Because I'm not it.
Oh?
You forget. The night Dr. Thurman heard that strange voice coming from Miss Agatha's room, that second night, when I went with him to check it out, I was standing right alongside of him, outside the room.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, if you can explain how it's possible for a person to be in 2 places at the same time.
That's very simple, Miss Palmer. The voice Dr. Thurman heard could have been on tape.
Tape?
Yeah. You do make it a practice to record patient histories on tape, do you not, Miss Palmer? I heard Dr. Thurman making such a recording when I stopped by his office. Who transcribes those recordings, Miss Palmer?
I do.
Excuse me. I won't be a minute. Hello? Connolly? Oh, it's you, Ross. What? Well, what new development on the Mason file? You just found out what? Yeah, I'll meet you at the sanitarium. And then notify the police. Nurse Palmer will be with me. We're leaving right now. Bye.
Oh, was all that about?
There's no time to explain now. How fast is that car of yours?
It's not mine. It's Dr. Thurman's. It's a sports car. It can do 100 if you open it up.
Well, baby, we're going to open it up. We got to get back to that sanitarium, and let's hope we make it in time.
Mr. Conley, please slow down.
Just hang on, baby.
Hang on. I've been hanging on for dear life. If anything happens to this car, I'll never hear the end of it from Dr. Thurman.
I'm not worried about the car, Miss Palmer. I'm worried about Paul Thurman.
Dr. Thurman, why? Look, you never told me what...
There's a turn up ahead. Hang on.
I was saying, you never told me what your partner Ross told you.
Well, you'll know in a few minutes. I only hope Ross got to the police with the information he gave me over the phone. We're going to need a patrol car to back us up.
We've got one. Following us. And at this speed, we'll probably pick up 3 more.
Good. All right, there's the driveway to the sanitarium. Right up ahead.
It's blocked by 2 police cars.
Hang on, I'm going to stop.
What's going on up there?
Look farther up beyond the service road.
Fire engine? Oh, look at the smoke. Oh, my God. Briarwood's on fire.
Come on.
That building is a death trap. I've got to help the patient.
Wait. Your patients are all right. They've all been evacuated. Look, over there in the clearing, the matron's got them out.
Oh, thank God. I don't see Paul. Dr. Thurman.
He's probably still in there. That's why Ross called.
Oh, I'm so confused.
Ross was calling from the prison. Mrs. Mason wasn't there. She'd been showing signs of violent behavior and was transferred to a hospital for psychiatric testing. Now, that was a few days ago, just before you started hearing that strange voice coming from Miss Agatha's room.
You don't think
It's the only answer to all this. Madness. Security at the hospital is not like security at the prison. Ross checked. They've been looking for her since Friday. I think she's here.
Here? But how would she find out?
I don't know, but somehow she did. Just look at the pattern, Miss Palmer. Patients warned, evacuated in time, everyone out, safe, but Paul Thurman. Now, remember, Mrs. Mason considered herself a humanitarian. I believe she set that blaze to destroy Briarwood and the man who kept her daughter prisoner there. Hey,
he's right, Margaret.
Paul!
I saw her. I saw the face in the locket. She burst into my office, smashed everything she could get her hands on. Within moments, everything was ablaze.
Paul, are you all right?
Yeah. I managed to get out somehow after I released Miss Agatha from her locked room. That poor, crazed woman is still in there. Last time I saw her, she was clawing her way up the blazing staircase, calling out, "Where are you, little sister? Don't be afraid. Mother is here."
The place is an inferno. We've got to get her out of there.
It's too late. The walls are starting to go. Oh, if she's still in there, she's a goner.
Nothing could escape such devastation.
At least the others are safe.
Are you sure they all got out?
Yeah. Everyone but Mrs. Mason.
I don't understand. What made her do it? You know about these things, Paul. What brought that woman here? What drove her to such total destruction?
She couldn't help herself, Margaret. Intellectually, she may not have known whether Miss Agatha was her daughter or her sister. But emotionally, instinctively, she knew. She was driven by one of the strongest forces in nature. Love, Margaret. Mother's love.
According to the police report, only one charred body was found in the ruins of what was once Briarwood Sanatorium. It was found half buried at the foot of the stairs. Police reports do not give details, but they say, clutched in one blackened skeleton hand, someone found a key to a padlock. I'll return shortly. What is sanity? I'm sure many of us often wonder who is sane and who is not. There are many definitions of a patient in need of psychiatric care. The one I liked the best was suggested rather sardonically, I thought, by the noted psychiatrist Dr. Carl Menninger. A patient, says Dr. Menninger, is merely a word which confines and controls the experience of madness before the individual has had a chance to tell his story. Our cast included Paul Hecht, Marion Seldes, Joan Lovejoy, and Ian Martin. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
Bright and beautiful music. This is KIXI, Seattle.
CBS News. The condition of Congressman Wayne Hayes is reported improving in a Barnesville, Ohio hospital, where he has been in a coma since taking an apparent overdose of sleeping pills. I'm Rita Sands reporting on the CBS Radio Network. Congressman Hayes was given the medication for a stomach disorder, and hospital officials say they have no way of knowing if he took too much or if his weakened condition caused an overreaction to the pills. They do say that no suicide note was found, indicating it appears he did not abuse the prescription intentionally. He is reported to be coming out of his coma. Congressman Hayes is currently under investigation because of a sex scandal involving his congressional payroll and a former secretary. Representative John Young of Texas denies he employed a former secretary for sex. A report in the New York Times quotes Colleen Gardner as saying she quit Young's staff in March out of disgust because he had pressured her into a sexual relationship. 2 battalions of Algerian and Libyan forces have entered Lebanon to help police a ceasefire in the civil war. They are part of a larger force that would police a ceasefire in Lebanon. Arab diplomats are fearful that the peacekeeping plan might run into serious problems because of a reported refusal by Syria to pledge withdrawal of its thousands of troops now on Lebanese soil. There are also signs of a new conflict between Syria and Iraq. Iraqi troops reported moving towards the Syrian border. Meanwhile, the civilians in the Lebanese conflict are anxious and distrustful. John Sheehan has more from Beirut.
The people here in Beirut, the civilians, are less ready to trust a ceasefire than they have been in the past. The people aren't going out into the streets. The businesses didn't open. The street markets didn't spring back up the way they have in the past. Everybody's just sitting and waiting and sticking close to home.
A Thursday night Puerto Rican festival in New York City ended in panic when sounds similar to gunshots sent several thousands of people running for cover. Many people were trampled. Lieutenant Richard Durand at a police station near the festival site has more information.
There was a report of shots fired. The people stampeded. A lot of people were injured. There was mass confusion here for a while. I checked with all the hospitals. So far, we don't have anybody being treated for any gunshot wounds. There's about 40 people over at Metropolitan Hospital that are being treated, but there were injuries resulting from the stampede. There's 2 women and a 3-year-old child that are in intensive care. The one woman and the child are in very bad shape, and the other woman has multiple lacerations.
The Boston Globe reports that Jimmy Carter's campaign workers have commissioned a nationwide attitude poll on 14 vice presidential possibilities. The list includes 8 senators, 2 members of the House, 3 governors, and 1 mayor. The list contains the names of 2 former presidential candidates, Senator Frank Church of Idaho and Birch Bayh of Indiana. Senator Edward Kennedy's name will also appear, but he has said repeatedly he would not accept the vice presidential nomination. President Ford and Ronald Reagan are scheduled to meet with Missouri state delegates Friday in their quest for 19 more delegates to the National Convention. So far, Mr. Ford has the lead in that state with 15. Reagan has 12, 3 delegates uncommitted. Now this.
I'm Charles Osgood, CBS News. Join me on Newsbreak, mornings on most of these CBS radio network stations, as we explore this curious world of ours. Some days, I'll pick a major news story to explore in further detail. Other days, it may be a person who did not exactly make the headlines, but whose story is noteworthy in the course of human events. Newsbreak, one of the many broadcasts of news and commentary, along with hourly CBS News, updates to the minute on most of these CBS radio network stations.
The Interior Department has announced that a 6-man panel of engineers will investigate the Teton Dam disaster. This follows disclosure of a 2-year-old federal report that noted 2 unusually large cracks were found extending into the canyon walls next to the dam during its construction. It was in that area that major leaks were first detected before the dam collapsed last Saturday, the first time it was filled. Rita Sands, CBS News.
Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. What lovers say to each other should be written on the wind and in running water. For love talk flows smoothly and flows freely. Most people are experienced enough to take it all with a wink or a grain of salt. However, here and there, now and then, you find someone who takes it seriously.
Our mystery drama,
The Blood Red Wine, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Sam Dam and stars Joan Lovejoy and Ralph Bell. Grow old along with me. The best is yet to be, the last of life, for which the first was made. One hesitates to take issue with that beautiful poetic sentiment of Mr. Browning, but growing old these days can present a multitude of problems, especially in a youth-oriented society. And then, of course, the fact remains that most young fools grow into old fools.
Listen to that thunder.
Bad storm.
I hope the roof won't leak.
It's this wind. It gets in underneath the roof tiles.
I was hoping you'd fixed it.
Well, the truth is, we need a new roof.
That ain't all we need. You, said you'd see Frank?
Yeah. All he can give me is a job selling on the road.
The road? Now, if you think you're going to leave me to be all alone...
Myra, I don't have too many options.
You mean he's got nothing else?
Nothing else I can do. Look, Myra, I belong on the road.
Then why did we buy this old farmhouse?
Well, I thought maybe I could paint.
Yeah.
It turns out I'm all right, but not good enough.
Okay. So what happens now?
I go back to doing the only thing I'm really good at.
At 52, it's back to the road, huh? Back to traveling with all the pressures.
Oh, it's not that bad.
After all you've done for Frank, he can't find anything else?
Anything else would be charity.
When do you start?
Anytime the rain stops and I can get on a plane.
Well, if that's what you want to do.
I don't want to do it.
Oh, sure.
I don't know how to do anything else well enough to get paid for it.
Well, at least if you got paid well enough.
Myra, I'm lucky to have the job.
Now, when you're in New York, you can bring my sister the pictures I promised her.
I won't be in New York.
What do you mean you won't be in New York?
New York and New England, that's your territory.
Well, the last couple of years, Frank had to put a new man on it.
But that's your territory. Those are your accounts. You built it up from nothing. That's where all the money is.
Frank would like to expand in the South.
I see. And old Joel here is just the man to open it up.
Myra, it was that or nothing.
What you could do is pick another line from somebody else and buck Frank in New York.
Well, that would be disloyal.
That can't be the doorbell. Why would anyone...
Well, I'd better answer it, I guess.
Please, may I come in?
Shut the door before we get flooded out of here.
Well, sure, come on in.
Oh, thank you.
Joel, look. This man is sick. Oh, help him out of that wet coat. Poor man is drenched through. Put up some tea.
Yes, a good cup of hot tea.
And meanwhile, pour a glass of that boysenberry wine. That'll perk him up. Mister, what are you doing out on a night like this?
I don't know.
Here, this is great for you. Here.
No, I don't think
Hold him up, Joel. I think he's going to fall.
I got him. Let me help you get this down, friend, huh? My wife makes it herself. We grow a special strain of boysenberries
Be careful,
around here.
Joel. You'll spill it on his shirt.
I can't swallow.
Joel, he's in real trouble. What is it, mister?
Doctor. I need a doctor.
A doctor?
I think it's a heart attack.
Oh, no.
My heart. The pain.
Here, I'll hold on to him. You get the folding cot, Joel, quick.
All right, right.
It's just inside the door of the storeroom. Mister, you'll be all right, honest.
I need a doctor.
Now, don't say anything. It's a strain to talk. Just try to relax. Don't even move, huh? Joel?
I got it. Myra, I got it.
Oh, good. Stretch it out.
All right.
That's it. Oh, that's good. Now, let's help him lie down.
Hold on to my arm, buddy.
Keep him very still. Now, unbutton his collar. Loosen up his clothes. And remove his wristwatch. See if that ring comes off.
Doctor, I need a doctor.
Well, there's that young Dr. Kessler. He lives just a couple of miles down the road.
The road hasn't been washed out.
All right, I'll try him.
I was driving north to Philadelphia, and the wires got wet.
Look, you better not talk, mister.
Myra.
What?
I can't get a dial tone.
Well, try to do something.
Well, what can I do? The phone's dead. The lines must be down. What are we going to do about it?
I couldn't just sit there, so I got out and started to walk.
Look, just try to lay perfectly still, huh?
Suddenly, this awful pain in my chest.
Myra, isn't there anything we can do?
And the pain kept getting worse. And then I saw your house.
I could go for a doctor.
You'd never get there.
Well, we got to do something.
I don't know what to tell you.
Listen.
Look, mister, you mustn't strain yourself.
I'm being punished.
What'd he say?
I stole the money. The money in my attaché case. The money?
Money?
Please, will you return the money to Phelps?
Look, don't say any
They
more.
could never trace it to me. Weeks or months before they even know the money's gone.
Return the money to whom?
$250,000. Bring it back to Phelps.
Oh, sure. Sure we will. Now, look, please rest.
And tell him J.B. Lucas was a fool, but J.B. Lucas could never be a crook.
Look, if you stay absolutely still...
Never be a crook.
Joel, is he...
Yes, Myra.
Oh.
He's dead.
Oh, poor fella. He looks so young.
Couldn't be a day over 35.
Oh, what are we going to do?
Well, there isn't much we can do tonight. If the storm lets up, we can phone the sheriff, or I can go get him if I have to.
What about his attaché case?
Oh, we better place that on the cot, I guess.
You think there's really a $250,000 inside that case?
Well, if you said so, why not?
For all the good it could do him now.
Well, nothing can do him any good now, or any harm. Let's, move him out of the kitchen. Myra? Ooh. Oh, boy. That one sure woke me. Myra?
Yes?
Did it wake you, too?
No. I've been up.
What are you thinking about?
Nothing.
Oh, yes, you are, I can tell. You get that quiet tone in your voice. You thinking about him downstairs on the cot in the storeroom?
Maybe. J.B. Lucas. Isn't that what he said his name was?
Yes.
He's better off out of it.
Myra.
At 35 or somewhere around there. He made his move. He decided to gamble. All or nothing. Go for broke. He lost. But he also won. If you look at it another way.
Well, what did he win? He's dead.
That's what he won.
Myra, you all right?
Yeah. I can tell you all about him.
You never saw him before.
You know what he died of?
Well, obviously, his heart just...
Sure. But I'll tell you what helped it along. A guilty conscience. Which means he wasn't a professional crook. He had a dead-end job. As a clerk.
How do you know?
He saw his chance to get out of it. To be free. To come, go, have money. And everything money can give you. And he took that chance.
And he lost.
Yes. He lost. Because he made his move too late. After he was all eaten away inside. But he also won.
Well, you keep saying that, but I don't see what or how.
Because he doesn't have to put up with 30 more dull, drab, hopeless years. He doesn't have to feel frustrated and cheated, empty.
I think I know what you're going to say.
You have a talent for painting, but not quite enough. You have a talent for selling, but you don't know how to turn it to your own advantage. The result is, you make other men rich.
I guess I'm not lucky, that's all.
But you are lucky, Joel. You are. Everybody hits the jackpot once in his life.
Well, I guess I'm still waiting for it to happen to me.
You don't have to wait any longer. It just happened.
What just happened?
Downstairs, lying on a dead man's chest, is an attaché case with $250,000.
What are you saying? We should steal that money?
Yes.
Myra.
Steal is the word. Oh, I suppose we could dress it up by calling it something else, but it wouldn't change anything. The second that man closed his eyes and died, I knew we were going to take that money.
Myra, this is wrong.
Joel, honey, if it was right, we wouldn't be having this problem, would we?
You're just taking leave of your senses.
Oh, no. No, not just. I took leave of my senses 30 years ago. On my wedding day. I was 17 and stupid.
Oh, no.
I never had an education. I didn't even finish high school. And you were so smart. Oh, to think a college boy like you could fall for an ignorant little nobody like me.
You were never a nobody.
So anything you did was all right with me. And as the years went by, we didn't have an awful lot.
Well, we always lived well.
We should have lived much better. You should have made 3, 4, 5 times as much money.
Oh, now, Myra.
It's true. All you had to do was stand up to Frank Desmond. But you were afraid.
Things were very complicated.
No, they were very simple. You wanted Frank to have a good opinion of you. You thought you'd alienate him by standing up for your rights. And I paid for it.
Myra.
Joel, that money downstairs, that's your chance. Your only chance. What do you say?
Joel can only give you one of two answers, yes or no. And what answer would you give? Aha. And now, what answer would you give if you could be virtually certain no one would ever find out? Well, you don't have to commit yourself. But Joel does. And he has to do it when I return with Act 2 shortly. How easy it is to be virtuous when no one is assaulting your virtue. How readily one may resist temptation if the forbidden fruit is completely devoid of fragrance and flavor. Would David have lusted after Uriah's wife had she been elderly and ugly? What can we say? Is morality basically a matter of what one can afford? Who knows?
It's wrong.
Sure.
I've never done anything wrong in my life.
That isn't true. You've done a great many wrong things.
I'm talking about sins.
Vanity is a sin. False pride is a sin. Lying is a sin.
When did I ever lie?
Your whole life has been a lie.
Myra, I never realized it. You must hate me.
No. I love you.
How could you love me and say those things?
Joel, so far, absolutely no one knows he's been here.
We have to get in touch with the sheriff.
If we do that, how can we keep the money? No. We don't call the sheriff. We know nothing about it.
But J.B. Lucas came here.
Who says he came here? It won't be light for 2 or 3 more hours. And if the storm keeps up, maybe more than that. Now, let's get dressed.
Why?
So we can get him back to his car.
We don't even know where his car is.
We'll find it.
In this weather?
It has to be down the road.
Well, how can you be sure?
He said he was driving north to Philadelphia. It means he was on the turnpike. He felt this heart attack coming on. He had to get off at the Jessup exit and travel east to get here. Now, let's get him dressed. Is this everything he was wearing?
I think so.
Okay, take the money out of the attaché case and put it in the drawer for now.
Myra,
Do you have a choice, Joel?
But what if someone might see us,
Who's going to be out at this time of the night in this kind of weather? Who's around to be out, anyway? Doc Kessler's 2.5 miles to the west, and everybody else is safely tucked into bed. Hold it. There's his car. Now, just pull up.
Myra, tire tracks. We leave tire tracks.
What tire tracks? The rain's washing everything away. Now, let's get him into his own car.
How do we know it's his car?
Well, who else would have left the car here? Now, come on.
Myra?
Joel, in a couple of minutes, it'll be all over. Okay. This was everything he was wearing when he came into the house, huh? His watch, his ring. He's got his wallet?
Yes.
And the attaché case. Leave it on the front seat next to him.
I don't think so. I don't know.
No, there's absolutely no sign that this man has been in our house tonight. Let's go home. Listen.
To what?
That's just it. No more thunder.
Storm's over.
What a beautiful morning. Come on, let's get up and have a big breakfast.
You mean you can eat?
I'm starved.
You slept, too, I noticed.
I was dead to the world. Didn't you sleep?
No?
Why not?
Myra, you and I, well...
You and I... We didn't kill him.
I admit it. It's just that I'm nervous. Now, suppose... What if he dropped something around here?
Like what?
Oh, maybe his handkerchief.
Well, that's not worth being nervous about, but take a look around the place. And for a ways down the road. He might have dropped something or lost something. So go on out. Take a look.
I didn't see a thing.
Well, that's good.
But that doesn't mean there's nothing.
What could there be?
Oh, some little clue there always is.
Oh, come on, Joel. It's over and we're out of it.
Are we?
Yeah. Now let's start to live.
His car is gone.
So?
I drove down to where we found it and left him. It's gone.
Somebody must have found him.
Yeah, I suppose.
Look, Joel, we knew he'd be found. Did you drive into the village?
No.
Well, it wouldn't be in the papers yet. I didn't hear anything on the radio. Well, now, what's the first thing we should buy ourselves?
We won't be able to spend much for a while.
Why not?
We'll have to lie low.
For what reason?
Till it blows over.
Till what blows over? Look, a man has a heart attack, dies at the wheel of his car. If it turns out that some money is missing, what does that have to do with you and me? Now, I'm right, Joel, and you know it.
Yes, you're right. It's just I just hope we didn't overlook anything, that's all.
We overlooked nothing. Now, do you want to feel great? Open the dresser drawer and take a look at those beautiful $20 bills.
You mean you left it in the dresser drawer?
For now.
Well, that's crazy. Suppose they search the house.
Who is going to search the house? Why should anyone search the house?
It ought to be put in a safe place.
Okay. Find a safe place and put it there. Now, you want to feel terrific? You want to do something you should have done 25 years ago? Go call Frank and tell him where to head in.
I told you, we have to proceed cautiously. The fact that we're broke is pretty common knowledge, you know. I mean, the storekeepers in town know it, and Hedrick at the bank is aware that we're usually late with our mortgage payments.
So?
So? How would it look if we suddenly started to flash a lot of money around?
Who said anything about flashing money?
Well, just being able to pay your bills when you have no visible means of support. Well, everybody knows I can't sell any paintings.
Oh, why do you always try to make things so complicated?
Complicated? It's common sense. So if I just worked for a while for Frank, it could be blind to account for where our money's coming from. And in a couple of weeks, a couple of months, this money, this fellow Lucas, will be ancient history. Come on, let's do it my way.
Why are you stalling?
Anna, who's stalling?
You are. What are you waiting for?
Things are not that simple.
Things are never simple.
Well, all I'm saying is we have to be extra... Who's that?
Well, go see.
The money. You said the money was in the drawer.
See who's at the door. And don't act so nervous.
Well, all right, but...
Open the door.
Hiya, Joe.
Sheriff?
You mind if I come in?
Oh, sure. I mean, well, not at all. Come in.
Oh, Myra.
Hello, Sheriff. Cup of coffee?
I never said no to a cup of coffee.
Sit down.
Thank you.
Well, what can we do for you?
I don't know.
Oh?
You know the storm last night?
Do we ever? I thought it had washed the house away.
Yeah, well, this morning, Jess Fallon finds a car parked alongside the road, a mile and a half from here. Fellow's behind the wheel looks awful still. Yeah, he should have been. He's dead.
Dead? From what?
Jess notifies me, and I put in the call to Doc Kessler. Doc says man died of a heart attack.
Oh, that's awful.
What happened was the fellow run out of gas.
Poor guy.
Yeah, in that storm.
Why is this a job for you, Sheriff?
Well, I don't know if it is or it isn't. Doc thinks the fellow got out of the car and went for help.
Oh?
And that rain? What, you'd think he'd sit tight, huh?
I would. But Doc looked him over and said to me, see here, his clothes were drenched, his shoes were soaked. How'd they get so wet?
Oh.
So he must have gone out. Well, which way? He was a mile from you folks in one direction, about a mile from the Rumfords in the other. Which way did he walk?
Well, did you ask the Rumfords?
They've been away the past 2 weeks.
I guess the poor fellow headed that way and couldn't get into the house. Knew there was no point going further in that direction because it would take him to the turnpike. Isn't that right, Joe?
Yes, I would suppose so.
So he must have made his way back. By the time he got to his car again, he just didn't have the strength to go on. He managed to get inside where he...
Yeah. Well... Oh, could I have a spoonful of sugar?
Sure.
Thank you. We don't think he went towards the Rumfords.
No?
No. He got out of the car and headed in this direction.
Well, how can you know that?
Just 50 yards or so down the road from you is where the county's building that culvert. You know, over the creek.
Yes.
A lot of that bottom yellow clay's been washed over near the side of the road. And Doc Kessler, he said to me, hey, look, see? It's on the edges of his pants. So, that means he must have come within, 50 yards of your house.
The poor man. And we didn't even have our lights on last night. Oh, he must have just got discouraged and turned back. He was so close and so close.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to ask a question. Oh, it's kind of a stupid question, I admit, if it's got to be asked for the sake of the record. You mind?
Well, what's the question?
Did you see this fellow last night? Now, before you even answer it, I know it's an unnecessary question, because if you had seen him, you would have asked him into the house. You would have helped him, naturally. But, as I say, for the record, did you see this man last night?
No.
Life is a series of options, and the secret of success is to keep them all open. However, there comes a time when suddenly one approaches a point of no return. Yes or no. And one is committed to a series of consequences that can never be foreseen or even imagined. That one word, no, and Myra and Joel are in it all the way. Or at least until Act 3, which is on its way. They say you can't cheat an honest man. I don't know what that means. Because millions of honest men and women are being cheated every hour on the hour. Perhaps the implication is that we all have a little larceny lurking somewhere inside us. Perhaps we do. The question is, how much is a little?
You didn't see this fellow last night?
No, Sheriff.
Well, I guess that takes care of that.
You mean he could have been within 50 yards of the house? So near and yet so far.
Yeah, it's tragedy, ain't it?
Excuse me, Sheriff. Hello? Yeah, he's here. Hold on, please. It's for you, Sheriff.
Oh, thank you. Hello? Yeah. What's that? Who? She is? Well, I guess this places a new light on things, don't it? Yeah. All right. I better wait for her here. How do you figure this?
What is it?
This whole thing just got kind of complicated.
What do you mean?
Well, this fellow Lucas, a dead man, his wife drove in from Philadelphia as soon as she was notified. They insisted on seeing me right away. Jim told her where I was, and so she just flew into her car and took off.
Oh, poor woman.
She wouldn't even wait for me to get back to my office.
I wonder why.
Well, Jim didn't say. She happened to mention something about money. A lot of money.
Oh?
Yeah, Jim said he never seen a woman so nervous and upset in all his life.
Well, the strain of her husband's death.
What money was she talking about? The old man had was $50 in his pants pocket. Jim asked her to wait, told her I'd be back soon, but she said, no, it couldn't wait. She had to see me at once. And she was out of that door like a shot.
But why?
Well, it shouldn't take more than a few minutes for her to get here. Hope you folks don't mind.
Mind? Why should we mind, Sheriff?
Now, please, Miss Lucas, try to be calm.
Well, there had to be $250,000.
A what?
In his attaché case.
$250,000?
Sheriff, J.B. is dead, and he's going to be dead for a long time. Now, I could cry for him later, but now I have to work for him, for his name.
I wish you'd just tell me what this is all about, ma'am.
What it's all about? Where do I begin? J.B. worked for Phelps Company. J.B. made that company, but he never got any recognition. And then last month, Phelps promoted a man with about half of J.B.'s ability over J.B.'s head. And J.B. didn't say anything. Well, I was afraid he might do something crazy, but
now, ma'am, you just take it easy.
Here, drink this. Here.
Thank you. He didn't come home for dinner last night. And I was starting to worry that he might have done something foolish. He did something very foolish. Because about 10 o'clock, the phone rang, and
I'm in Baltimore.
Baltimore? Why? You didn't tell me you were going to... J.B., are you crazy?
I was crazy, Lorraine. But not anymore.
But why?
Lorraine, I took $250,000 from that safe.
You stole $250,000?
I said took. It's my money.
No, it belongs to the firm.
I know, legally.
What are you going to do with that money?
Run away. I'll send for you later.
Oh, J.B., you can't.
I know that, and so I'm over it. I'm over a lot of things. I want to live, Lorraine.
You come right home.
Yes, and I'll put the money back in the safe, and no one will ever know I took it. And then I'll quit Phelps forever.
Oh, J.B.
And I bet I'll stop getting these pains in my chest.
What pains?
Forget it. I'm on my way home.
Your office sheriff called me, and I rushed down here. The attaché case, it was empty. The money was gone.
Ma'am, nobody touched that case.
But that money, don't you understand? The $250,000 is gone.
Yeah, but nobody knows anything about it.
Well, who was the first person who discovered my husband's body?
It was Mr. Jesse Fallon.
All right, then I demand that he be brought...
Ma'am, he's a preacher.
I don't care who he is.
Now, look, Miss Lucas, you're excited.
Well, what do you expect me to be?
So why don't I just give you a lift back to town?
I've got my own car. Who's the mayor here? Is there a district attorney?
Now, ma'am, you don't want her to...
My husband's name, his reputation is at stake. Don't you understand?
Ma'am, I'd like to help.
Help? You helped, all of you. You helped yourself to that money. You, that preacher, if he is a preacher, whoever he is, you're all in on it.
Now, ma'am, you got no right to make such an accusation.
Listen, I'm going to fight for my husband. I'll hire a lawyer. I'll call a governor. J.B. Lucas will not be disgraced for something he never did. I'm sorry that I was forced to make such a scene in your home.
That's all right.
But I have to do something. I have to do something.
Yeah, Miss Lucas. Yeah, just a minute. Wait for me. Hey, I told you folks there's complications.
Myra, what are we going to do?
Nothing.
Nothing? This changes everything.
How?
Well, do you want that man to go to his grave branded a thief?
When a man dies, does it matter how he goes to his grave?
But that poor woman...
What's going to happen to her? Nothing.
I won't stand by and allow you...
Yes, you will. That man died for you.
Are you out of your mind?
He was a man exactly like you. A man who could never get what was due him. If he's looking down on us or up at us, what do you think he'd want us to do with the money? Return it to that miserable boss of his? Never. He'd say, keep it. Do what I never had the guts to do. Enjoy it.
But that poor woman...
That stupid woman. If she'd worried more about him when he was alive, if she'd shown that kind of anger and determination, where was it all when he needed it?
That woman, her anguish, it haunts me.
We decided we'll keep the money.
No, we won't.
Joel, if you...
No, we'll be found out.
It's impossible. There's no way.
They're closing in on us.
What are you talking about?
Did we leave a clue?
No.
We keep telling that to ourselves, but we did. That clay from the covert.
So?
Proof that Lucas came this way.
But not that he was in this house.
Yes, there's a clue.
What clue?
I don't know. But there has to be a clue. The clay proves that he came this way. Now, a clue to prove he was in here.
Then tell me what it is.
I can't tell you what it is, but I know it exists.
How do you know?
It has to.
Joel, when you talk like this, it scares me.
Well, you should be scared. You should be scared. We'll be caught, Myra. There's a clue.
You keep saying that, but what can it be?
When that man was in this house, I know I did something. I'm aware of having done something. There is a clue, and I know it.
Oh, get hold of yourself.
I'm trying to.
No one can prove Lucas was in this house. There is no way to prove we took the money. Now, let's forget about it.
Forget? I'm not a man who can steal, Myra.
All right. Then die like he did of a heart attack the way he did, among strangers the way he did.
Myra.
This man Phelps killed Lucas the way Frank Desmond will kill you. You'll die in some little southern town with your sample case.
Please,
Joel, there's nothing more to talk about.
Duty of every citizen.
Joel?
Duty to report.
Joel?
Duty to report knowledge.
Joel, wake up.
Duty to give information. To telephone.
Joel, wake up. Wake up.
I was fast asleep. Why'd you wake me?
Do you know what you were talking about in your sleep?
I never talk in my sleep.
Who are you going to telephone?
Telephone? What are you talking about?
Joel, everything's gonna be all right. Everything.
That clue.
What clue?
The clue that proves he was in our house.
There is no such clue.
Oh, there is.
Joel, go back to sleep. Forget it.
Hello. Yeah. Who's this? What? What did you just say? Well, who are you? Hello? Hung up. What did he just tell me?
Who can that be? It's late.
I don't know.
Better answer it.
Evening, Joel.
Sheriff.
Look, I know it's late, but I have to ask you a very important question.
What question?
Well, you can hand over the money, and there won't be any questions asked. We'll be smoothed over.
What are you talking about?
The $250,000 J.B. Lucas had in his attaché case. You see, he did come into your house. He died here. And we can prove it. I can prove it by that bottle of your boysenberry wine, Myra.
Oh, good Lord. That's the clue. Now I know. That's
Joel,
the clue.
shut up.
Well, that don't matter. You offered him a drink, and it spilled all over his shirt. Doc Kessler analyzed the stain. That's what it is.
He could have had a drink of wine anywhere.
No, Myra. Not with this much sugar. Nor this red. You grow them berries special, Myra. Now, look, there's no permanent harm done. You just hand over the money and nothing will happen.
You can't prove it.
Myra, you can deny it, but you'll be watched and bird dog the rest of your life. Phelps will have private detectives. You'll never be able to spend that money. On the other hand, no one has to know anything.
It's in the front room.
It was you who called me on the phone, wasn't it, Joe?
Me?
You called me and tipped me off to the wine stain, didn't you?
No, I didn't do it, Sheriff. Why would I do a thing like that?
Why? If only I could answer that, Joe. If only I could answer that.
Why? Is it because a man cannot change his morality as easily as he changes his shirt? Or was it the subconscious that dialed the sheriff's office? Or maybe being on the road was more important to Joel than anything else. He may have a good friend out of town. I'll be back shortly. The leopard, as you know, cannot change his spots. The snake, however, changes his skin at regular intervals. Does that mean leopards are more trustworthy and constant than snakes? Do not pet either one. Who is to say that Joel's reluctance to take the money is a blow for honesty? He may have felt that he was getting a better deal from Frank. After all, money isn't everything. Our cast included Joan Lovejoy, Ralph Bell, and Marion Seldes. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. Do come in. Make yourself comfortable, because I'm going to tell you a nice, quiet little ghost story. Nothing to frighten you. Not badly, at any rate. Nothing to make you run screaming into the street. No, the most this ghost story can do is make you snuggle down deeper under the covers and reach out for a hand to hold. A hand, I trust, that is firm and warm, not clammy and cold. Our mystery drama, The Phantom Lullaby, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Elspeth Eric and stars Rosemary Murphy and Arnold Moss. I myself have never met a ghost. I don't know why. Perhaps something in my personality puts them off. But if ever I should, I hope you'll do something more than moan and sigh and clank chains. What I should really enjoy would be a nice, chatty ghost. We'd sit down and talk things over. Things like whether the life after death is really pleasanter than the one before. And if it is, why is it? Things like that. Things that only a ghost would know. Ah, well, perhaps one fine day or some dark night, if I hold myself in readiness, my ghost will visit me. Meantime, relax, won't you? And listen.
Hello? Intercoastal Airlines? Well, can you tell me if Flight 509 from New York is on time? Yeah, I'll hold on.
Ellen's room is finished.
Good.
I've ordered new curtains. Oh, I hope she likes her room.
Oh, I'm sure she will. I'm sure she... yes? Oh, it is? Well, good. Thank you very much. Plane's on time.
Well, you better get started then.
Yeah.
Don't be nervous.
I'm not nervous.
It'll only make her nervous if you're nervous. What are you looking in the closet for?
My overcoat.
It's on the chair.
Oh.
She's only been away 4 days.
It's not a question of how long she's been away. It's what she went away for.
I know that.
Well, then why say a foolish thing like only 4 days?
Please. I'm nervous, too.
Well, what do you think you're doing now?
This couch shouldn't be here. It should be over there.
That's an 8-foot couch. Don't try to move it by yourself.
I can do it.
Let me have the superintendent, please. Emily, will you stop that? I'd help you, but I have to get going. I don't want Ellen standing around the airport. Hello? This is Mr. Keene, Penthouse B. Yeah, we just moved in. We're not quite settled in yet, and I have to go to the airport to pick up my daughter. Could you possibly help my wife move a few pieces of furniture? No, we want the place to look extra nice. Our daughter's never seen it, and... Oh, that's great. That's just great. Thank you very much. You'll be up in a couple of minutes.
Howard, do you think Ellen will like this apartment?
Well, I certainly hope so. It's costing an arm and a leg.
Oh, with a terrace and everything. Her own bathroom, a real dining room.
Well, the idea is to give her a change. New surroundings, blot out everything that happened.
As if a terrace and her own bathroom could take her mind off that terrible man.
Well, they'll help. I'm not saying completely, but they'll help. Give us something to think about besides John Draper and the rest of it.
Seems strange we never even met him.
I hope I never do meet him. Well, honey, I gotta get going.
Don't tell Ellen about this place. Let it be a surprise. And, Howard, be very, gentle with her. Let her know we love her.
Yeah, I'll let her know. Well, I'm off. You're the superintendent.
Yeah.
I didn't hear you knock.
I was just getting ready to.
Well, come in. This is my wife. She'll show you what she wants done. Oh, and here's something for your trouble.
Oh, okay.
Honey, I'll be back in an hour.
Good luck.
Take care.
Well, now.
You like this place?
Oh, I'm sure we will like it. We just moved in.
I know. It's a nice-looking apartment with a terrace and all.
First thing I want to do is move the couch over there to the long wall.
Everybody likes this place when they first move in.
If you take one end and I take the other.
1, 2, 3 months, then they start getting jumpy.
Jumpy?
They pay up what they owe on the lease and they move out.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, it happens every time. Well, let's move this thing if we're going to.
Let me move the coffee table first.
No, I'll do it. How'd you happen to hear it was vacant?
Well, actually, friends of ours called us. They'd met some people at a party who said they were giving up this beautiful apartment, and we thought...
That would be the Winthrops. Yeah, they lasted 6 months. Where do you want this table?
Right where you're standing.
Okay. And before them was the Katzes, and before them the Millbrooks, and before them the Kramers, and before them...
Why did they all move out? What's wrong with the place?
Search me. They would never say, any of them. Just paid up and moved out. You know what I think?
What?
I think the joint's haunted. Now, where does the couch go?
Enter, young lady.
Ellen. Darling, it's so good to have you back.
I'll put the suitcase in the bedroom.
When you see your bedroom, darling, make allowances for the curtains. I had to put up your old ones, and they're too short, but I'm expecting new ones, maybe today. But I got you a new bed. Oh, heavens, the fuss they made about delivering it. So, what do you think? Do you like the apartment?
It's very nice.
Come, look at the view from the terrace. Come on. You can see for miles. Isn't that spectacular?
Spectacular.
Well, you can take a good look at it later. What would you like to do now?
I don't know.
Take a hot bath? You have your own bathroom now.
Really? Do I?
Or would you like to just sit and talk?
All right. If you want to.
Ellen, was the operation very bad?
You mean the abortion? No. It wasn't bad at all.
I'm glad of that.
I opened your suitcase. Let a little air in, huh? I didn't unpack anything, though.
I'll do it.
You want to do that now, dear? Maybe take that hot bath, and I'll start lunch, and then when it's ready, I'll call you.
All right.
It's the door on the right. Oh, here, I'll show you.
I'll find it.
And the bathroom opens right off of it. Howard, what's wrong with her?
I don't know. She was like that all the way in from the airport.
Like a sleepwalker.
Like a zombie.
Howard?
I'm making us a drink.
We need it.
How is she?
I guess she's all right.
Here's your drink.
She's lying on the bed just staring at the ceiling. I spoke to her, but she didn't answer me. So I didn't bother her.
That horrible man, he did this to her.
I wish she'd talked to me about him. But she never did say much, except that she was seeing him a lot. And then when she told me she was pregnant, she said he didn't want to marry her, so she guessed she'd have an abortion.
Just like that.
Things have changed, so. The young people nowadays.
And the parents nowadays.
I guess so.
I should have insisted. I should have put my foot down, absolutely insisted.
Insisted on what?
Well, at least on meeting the guy, at least that.
That's not the way things are done these days.
Well, they should be. Look, do you think I ought to get in touch with him now?
Now? It's too late
well, we
now.
can't just leave her the way she is, walking around like an automaton. Maybe he could... Oh, I don't know. Maybe he could snap her out of it or something.
Maybe she'll snap out of it by herself.
If she was really in love with him...
She said she wasn't.
Well, maybe she was. Maybe she was and didn't know it. Anyway, I think he ought to see what he's done.
What good would that do?
I don't know. I don't know. Why don't you go and see if she's all right?
I don't like to disturb her.
Well, just knock on the door and see if she answers.
All right.
Well, the state she's in...
Ellen?
Oui, Mama.
I don't want to disturb you, dear, but I just want to make sure everything's all right.
Tout va bien.
I guess she's all right. Anyway, she answered me.
Well, what did she say?
I couldn't make it out, but she sounded fine.
Well, that's good. Maybe it was just shock or something before.
Probably that was it.
Emily, if you get to talking to her, if she'll talk to you...
Oh, she will.
Ask her about this man. What's his name again?
John Draper?
Yeah, ask her how she feels about him. You know, if she thinks about him, wants to call him up or anything, you tell her that it's all right with us.
Howard, she doesn't care if it's all right with us. Young people don't these days. They just go ahead and do what they want to do.
Well, do you realize we don't know anything about this man? What does he do for a living, if anything?
He plays the piano. I think he gives lessons.
Where does he live?
Over on Market Street, I think.
Yeah, that figures. Has he got a phone?
I imagine so. I don't know.
Well, if he gives lessons, he's got to have a phone. It's got to be in the book. I think so. Anyway, here he is. Look. John Draper, 121 Market.
You're not going to call him.
No, I'm not going to call him. I just want to know that he's alive and breathing somewhere in this town. If Ellen isn't better by tomorrow or the next day...
Howard, she will be.
Go knock on the door again, will you?
What'll I say?
Say anything. Say we're having a drink out here. Why doesn't she join us?
All right, if you say so.
But keep it light and, you know, cheerful.
Ellen, dear, your father and I are having a drink. Don't you want to join us?
Pas maintenant.
How's that, dear?
Je suis occupée.
Well, whenever you're ready, we'd love to have you. I think a drink would do you good. Whenever you're ready. I guess she's all right.
But did she say she was all right?
I don't know what she said.
What do you mean you don't know what she said?
Ellen!
Are you all right, baby?
Je regrette, mais je ne peux pas vous joindre pour le moment. Je dois m'occuper de ces garçons. Excusez-moi, s'il vous plaît.
Howard.
Why, I didn't know she could speak French.
She can't.
Well, she just did. I understand enough French to know that.
What did she say? Could you tell?
Well, she said she couldn't join us just now because she had to take care of the little boy.
Do you agree with Anthony Trollope that the chief duty a parent owes a child is to make the child happy? I think I do. And I think in their more beneficent moods, most people do. Why, then, are there so many bitterly unhappy children? We may find out when I return shortly with Act 2. Ellen Keene, only daughter of Howard and Emily Keene, came home a little while ago after the removal of an incipient life from her body. In the new penthouse apartment her parents have rented in an anxious effort to lift her spirits, she has just now delivered her longest utterance since she arrived.
Je regrette, mais je ne peux pas vous joindre pour le moment. Je dois m'occuper du petit garçon. Excusez-moi, s'il vous plaît.
Howard?
Why, I didn't know she could speak French.
She can't.
Well, she just did. I understand enough French to know that.
What did she say? Could you tell?
Well, she said she couldn't join us just now because she had to take care of the little boy.
What little boy?
Well, how should I know what little boy?
Howard, the operations affected her mind.
No, don't say that. That's not true.
It must have meant more to her than we knew.
How could we know she acted as though it was nothing?
That's how young people are these days.
I'm going to call that man.
John Draper? What good would that do?
He ought to know what he's done.
Howard, it isn't right to blame it all on him.
I don't care. There, here. Here's his number.
I don't see why you think he can help.
Well, maybe she still loves him. Maybe he can get through to her. Maybe.
Hello?
Mr. Draper? John Draper?
Yes?
I'm Howard Keene, Ellen Keene's father.
Yes?
Ellen came home a little while ago. I thought you might like to know.
How is she? Is she all right?
No, she's not all right.
What's the trouble? They didn't hurt her, did they?
Physically, she seems to be all right, but other ways, she's not.
I'm glad you called me. What can I do?
My wife and I thought it might help if you came to see her.
Why, of course, right now.
If you can.
I'll have to cancel some lessons, but I'll be there as soon as I can.
Oh, hold on just a minute. We've moved to a new place.
Oh? You've moved?
Yes, we took a penthouse on the spur of the moment, just moved in this morning. It's at 42 Cedar Terrace. Do you know where that is?
42 Cedar Terrace?
Yes, penthouse B. Have you got that? Hello? Mr. Draper, are you there? Hello?
I'm sorry, Mr. Keene, but I'm afraid I won't be able to get there after all. Give Ellen my love.
Hello? Mr. Draper? Hello?
Howard?
I don't get it. He was very nice, very concerned about Ellen. He wanted to help. He wanted to come to see her right away, and then all of a sudden, when I gave him the address, he made a sudden switch, and he said he was sorry. He couldn't.
Why would he do that?
Thought it over, I guess, decided he wanted no part of it.
But you said he sounded nice at first.
He's not going to get away with it.
Howard, what are you going to do?
What was his address again? It's right there in the phone book. I'm going to get him to see Ellen if I have to drag him here. What's the address?
121 Market Street. Howard, I wish you wouldn't go.
I'll be back in half an hour. You stay right here.
You think I should call Dr. Stone?
No, not yet. Well, what could we say to him? That our daughter talks to us in French when she doesn't know any French? That she says she has to take care of a little boy when there isn't any little boy? No, you just stay here with her, and I don't think she'll get violent or anything like that, and I'll be back in half an hour with Mr. John Draper.
Oh, dear. Ellen? Ellen, honey? Ellen, don't you want to come out now and have some lunch? I could fix us both a sandwich and some soup.
Je suis occupée.
We haven't had a chance to talk.
Va-t'en, maman.
You're sure you're all right?
Tout va bien, maman.
That's the phone buzzer from downstairs, dear. I have to answer it. Yes?
This is Super, Mrs. Keene. I got a big package down here for you.
Package? What kind of package?
Well, it's big. It's from, wait a minute, Standish Decorators.
Oh, it must be the curtains for my daughter's room.
You want me to bring it up?
Yes. Would you please?
Yeah, I'll be right up.
Thank you. Ellen, darling? Ellen, the curtains for your room have come. You remember I told you I ordered new ones? What do you think? Shall we take down the old ones and put up the new ones? I'm dying to see how they look. Ellen, dear? Ellen?
Voilà, mon petit. Ne pleure pas, mon petit.
Ellen? Ellen, answer me.
Va-t'en, maman. Je suis occupée.
Dear God. I don't know what to do. I don't... Yes, I'm coming. I'm coming. Just a minute.
Your package, Mrs. Keene.
Thank you. Thank you.
You, okay, Mrs. Keene?
What?
You look kind of peculiar.
I do?
What's the matter? Ghosts been bothering you?
Ghosts?
I told you the place was haunted.
Yes, you did, didn't you?
Didn't think they'd be getting to you so soon, though.
Look, come in for a minute, will you? Do you mind? I'd like to talk to you.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Tell me why you say this apartment is haunted.
It was just a guess.
You don't really know, do you?
No, I don't really know about this apartment, no, but I know quite a lot about ghosts from personal experience.
Tell me what you know.
Well, I guess everybody knows that ghosts are no more and no less than the spirits of the dead who won't leave the earth, right? I mean, that's pretty obvious, wouldn't you say?
I wouldn't know anything about it.
Oh, well, I thought everybody knew that. Well, that's what they are. The only difference between one ghost and another being why they won't leave the earth. Why they keep coming back to haunt. And there's various reasons why.
Like what?
Well, they could be they're in love with some live person who returns that love even after death. That's one reason.
What other reasons are there?
Well, there's a ghost that won't admit to death, a ghost who resents the people who've gone on living. Now, this, generally speaking, is the ghost of some person who is used to lording it over everybody in life and comes back to try to lord it over them some more. That's another reason for ghosts.
What other reasons?
Then there's the kind that just can't understand how it happened.
How what happened?
Death. Their own death. That's the kind of ghost I understand very well. My sister's one of those.
You mean your sister doesn't understand how she happened to die? Is that what you mean?
She was 12 years old. She was on her way to school. And a car came along with a drunken driver behind the wheel, and the car swerved up on the sidewalk and killed her. She never knew what happened. Before she knew anything, she was dead.
And her ghost comes back?
Every night. Every night I wake up and hear crying.
What do you do?
I try to explain it to her, but what can I say? It doesn't make any sense. Drunk in a car and her on her way to school.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
It makes more sense to kill yourself, don't you think? That way you got something to say about how you go and when. Not just leave it up to some drunk in a car. Well, that's my opinion anyway. All right, I better be getting back downstairs.
Couldn't you, just stay for a little while? I don't feel like being alone right now. My husband will be home in, about half an hour. He went to see somebody over on Market Street.
I can stay a little while if you like me to.
I'd appreciate it.
We'll talk about ghosts, huh? That's my favorite topic. Ghosts.
I'm looking for Mr. Draper.
I'm Mr. Draper.
I guess it's your son I'm looking for.
I don't have a son.
Oh, well, I expected. Well, I didn't know. I'm Howard Keene, Ellen's father. I'd like to come in and talk to you.
Mr. Keene.
Please, it's very important, or I wouldn't ask.
Come in.
Thank you very much.
Sit down if you want.
Excuse my staring at you. I expected a much younger man.
I'm 51.
It's just my age.
You said on the phone Ellen is all right.
No, I said that physically Ellen's all right. Why didn't you want to marry Ellen when you found out that she was pregnant?
I couldn't.
Oh, you've got a wife?
I had a wife.
You're divorced.
Something I never talk about, Mr. Keene.
You never talked about it to Ellen?
I never talked about it to anybody. And I don't intend to.
Maybe you should.
I can't. Tell me about Ellen.
Well, she came home a little while ago. She was changed. She talked in monosyllables, short sentences at the most. And we thought after what she's been through, maybe that's only natural. So my wife told her to have a bath, take a nap, and we'd have a drink, lunch. Well, while my wife and I were talking, Ellen came out of a room and spoke to us, quite a long speech, and every word of it in French.
In French?
Now, Ellen doesn't know any French. You never spoke to her in French, did you?
Never. Never.
Well,
never.
I just wondered.
What did she say in French?
Well, she said that She said she was sorry she couldn't join us for a drink, but she had to take care of a little boy.
What little boy?
I have no idea.
Mr. Keene, after an operation like the one Ellen had, don't you think it's possible that it's bound to have an effect on a woman, on her emotions, for a while anyway?
I don't want it to go on for too long, and that's why I called you.
You thought I could help?
I hoped you could. Get your coat. I've got a cab waiting outside.
Now I've told you everything I know about ghosts, Mrs. Keene. Have you seen the one that's haunting this place?
No. I'm not even sure there is one.
Well, I'll be getting on downstairs if you don't need me for anything.
Well, if you could, I'd really appreciate your helping me put these curtains up. If you have the time.
Oh, yeah, I got a few minutes.
They're for my daughter's room. I'm not sure we should go in there. She's been resting. I'll tell you what, I'll knock on her door. If she's up, I know she'd love to see the curtains. Ellen, dear, it's Mother. The superintendent is here, and if it's all right with you, we'd like to put up the new curtains. You know, I told you before they just came from the shop. Ellen, dear, I'm going to open the door and come in because I think you've been by yourself long enough. I really do. Ellen, Oh!
What's the matter?
Oh!
Mrs. Keene, what? Good Lord.
She's not moving.
She's not breathing.
Her eyes are wide open.
She's dead.
She's not dead. Don't say such a thing. Don't you dare say such a thing.
Mrs. Keene, what are you doing?
Calling the doctor, you fool.
Doctor won't do any good. She's dead.
Man is the only animal who knows that he will die. So said the great Voltaire. The knowledge that he will one day cease to live permeates man's days and poisons them a little. I think that if ever I am given another life, I should like to live it as a bird or a monkey or a chipmunk or a beetle. It doesn't add much to the enjoyment of life to know that it won't last long. I'll be back shortly with Act 3. You'll remember I promised you a quiet little ghost story? I think I've kept my promise so far. Though, of course, in any story, there must be an explosion or two. At this moment, Mr. Keene, Ellen's father, is preparing to enter a taxicab with Mr. Draper, Ellen's one-time lover.
You say you've been married?
Yes.
But you weren't divorced?
No.
Your wife died?
Yes.
I see. How long ago was that?
What?
How long ago did your wife die?
25 years ago.
Did you and your wife have any children?
Yes. One.
Where is the child?
Dead.
At birth?
No.
I feel a little bit like a heel asking you all these questions, but I'm concerned about my daughter.
I'm concerned too, or I wouldn't have come with you.
I understand. I think I understand. You've never wanted to get married again, is that it?
Never.
Even after all these years?
I met my wife in Europe towards the end of the war. The big war. I'd been doing very well in business. I was on my way to making it big when I got drafted. I didn't like being drafted, but I went anyway, and she was the one bright spot in an otherwise drab and miserable Army career. I brought her back here. She had a child, and they both died. I stopped making money. I started playing the piano, and I have been at it ever since then.
But you were in love with Ellen. I hope you don't mind my asking.
I don't know what that means, to be in love. I'm not saying there's no such thing, but if there is, I've forgotten, or I never knew what it's like.
I'm very sorry for you.
It's very kind of you, but don't bother.
Cedar Terrace is the next right turn, driver.
Are we nearly there?
Next right, about half a mile. My wife and I just moved in. We wanted to do something for Ellen. We heard through friends about this marvelous apartment that was suddenly available, a penthouse of all things.
Penthouse B, you said?
Yeah, we took it on an impulse, thinking it'd be something for Ellen to come home to take her mind off everything. You know, what she'd been through.
And did it?
Well, no. No, she's hardly said a word about the place since I brought her home from the airport. She's hardly said anything about anything. Just a few words of French, and that one thing about not being able to have a drink with us before lunch because she had to look after a little boy.
How could she speak French when she doesn't know any French? And what little boy did she have to look after? I don't understand any of it, not any of it.
Hold on. We're almost there. Maybe Ellen will be all right, more of a self anyway, and then you can ask her. You just hang in there for a couple of minutes more.
Dr. Stone, what's wrong with Ellen?
Well, Mrs. Keene, I can't detect any vital signs at all. I hesitate to pronounce her dead, but what can I say? I can find no pulse, no heartbeat, no reflexes. I've done everything I can think of. Injection, massage.
She's not dead. Tell me she's not dead.
Like you, I refuse to conclude that at the moment. But if your daughter is alive, Mrs. Keene, she is in the deepest coma I've ever encountered. It's as though she were not in or out of this world at all.
It's that tall building on the corner, driver, number 42.
A very tall building.
How's that?
I said it's a tall building.
Well, compared to the way they build them nowadays, it's not so tall, but I guess when they put it up, it was considered pretty daring. Hey, what do you think you're doing?
I can't. I just can't.
You get back in there. Driver, stop the cab. Hey, stop.
I can't go up there. I can't.
I don't care if you can or can't. You're going to. Now, march. Don't you try anything now. I got hold of you.
I can't do it.
You let me pay the cab. Here you are, driver. Now you get going.
Mr. Keene, I know you think this is very strange.
You bet I think it's very strange.
I can explain.
After you've seen my daughter, you can explain. Now you get in the elevator there. Right now, Ellen's the only one I'm interested in. Push that button that says penthouse.
Penthouse B.
That's right.
Mrs. Keene, if Ellen isn't dead, and I'm still not convinced, then she's either in a very, very deep coma or... Well, here I'm getting into territory that I don't understand at all. She's in a trance.
A trance?
We hear of these things, people who can control their body functions. I was told of a man who could make one half of his arm stone cold and the other half blood warm. He could do it at will, or so I was told.
I can't believe it. Do you believe it?
Mrs. Keene, there isn't a doctor alive today who would deny the power the human mind has over the human body.
But... Oh, that must be my husband.
Yeah, well, I want to talk to him.
I'll only be a second. Yes, I'm coming. Howard. Mr. Draper?
That's him.
I'm Ellen's mother. Howard, I called Dr. Stone. He's with Ellen now. He wants to talk to you.
I'm in here, Mrs. Keene.
Dr. Stone, how is she?
She shows no vital signs of life at all.
You don't mean that she's dead? Oh, no, she can't be. Emily, what happened?
Mr. Keene, we don't know precisely what happened, and I don't... Well, for some reason I can't really explain. I don't think she's dead. Either she's in a deep coma or she's in a trance state.
Well, what's that, a trance state?
It's something medical men know very little about. So, I want your permission to take her to the hospital. Have her examined by another doctor there. And if he gives us no convincing diagnosis, We'll call in a psychic healer.
You have our permission to do anything you have to.
Of course.
All right, I'll call an ambulance.
Mr. Draper, I've been very rude. We've paid no attention to you at all. Thank you so much for coming.
It's quite all right.
You can see we're beside ourselves with worry.
Yes, I can see that.
There's an ambulance service. There's Dr. Stone.
Mrs. Keene, do you suppose that I could see Ellen?
Oh, I don't think so. Not now.
Why didn't somebody wake me up?
Ellen.
Thank you.
Darling.
Is it time for lunch?
Ellen, how do you feel?
Dr. Stone. What are you doing here? And John, you know, it's funny. I thought I heard your voice, but then I decided I must have imagined it.
Yeah, but how do you feel, Ellen?
Well, I feel perfectly fine. I had a wonderful sleep.
You're sure you feel all right?
Well, I just told you I feel fine. I was tired when Daddy brought me home from the airport, but I had a lovely nap, and now I'm fine. But what are you doing here? And John, how did you get here? How did you know where to come?
Your father, he told me.
Oh, really? Oh, that was nice. Then you've met.
Yes, we've met.
You'll stay for lunch, won't you, John?
Mother, is that all right? Is there enough for John, too?
Yes, dear, there's enough. But first, don't you think you ought to bathe and change your clothes?
I guess I should. I was going to do that before, wasn't I? When I first got here. But then I got busy with something or other, and I forgot all about it.
You want me to come with you, dear?
That would be nice. We haven't had a chance to talk, have we?
No, but we will.
See you off for lunch.
Yes, Ellen.
You'll stay, Mr. Draper?
I'm not sure that I can.
Please do. Ellen seems to want you to.
Mr. Keene, I don't know any of the whys or wherefores, but your daughter seems to be all right.
Yes, she seems to be.
I'm going back to my office. I'll be there all afternoon. If anything happens to alarm you, please call me. I can be here in 5 minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Stone.
No, don't bother to come to the door. I'll let myself out.
I'm glad she's all right.
I suppose you don't believe there was ever anything wrong.
I don't know.
After all, you didn't see her when she was, well, the way she was.
I know your daughter very well, Mr. Keene. I know what a sensitive girl she is. I told you in the taxi that I didn't believe I knew the meaning of being in love. Now I'm not so sure. I think I was, in my own neurotic way, in love with Ellen. We were very close.
Well, why did you make such a fuss about coming here? Why did you try to jump out of the cab? What was that all about?
I had been here before.
When? When were you ever here?
I used to live here.
In this apartment?
Penthouse B, yes.
Well, when was this?
25 years ago.
You lived here with your wife?
Huh?
And your child?
Yes.
And your child was a little boy?
Yes.
How old was the child when he died?
2 years old.
And your wife, how old was she?
21.
They both died while you were living here. I can see why you wouldn't want to come with me.
It's not just that they died.
Well, what was it?
It was the way they died.
Tell me about it.
When I came back from Europe, I started up in business again. The business which the war had so rudely interrupted. I was determined to work my way up the ladder again, and I threw myself into my work. I think my wife felt neglected. Truth is, I did neglect her. But it wasn't just my neglect. She was a foreigner. Even after 3 years, she hadn't learned to speak English. She was shy. She didn't make friends. She was alone a great deal, except for the child. And one night, I was at my desk working over some papers when she came into the room with the child in her arms. She spoke to me. I don't remember what she said, but I remember that she spoke to me. I had every intention of answering her. But I didn't want to be bothered at that precise moment. Half a minute later, I turned around and she wasn't there. She had jumped from the terrace. She had jumped from the terrace with the child in her arms. Good Lord. Do you think it's possible? I know how far-fetched it sounds, but is it possible that the little boy Ellen told us she had to look after was the ghost of your son? I don't know what else to think. Do you? Tell me something. What nationality was your wife? My wife is French. It all begins to fit together, doesn't it? When you stop and think about it.
When you stop and think about it. You don't want to stop and think about it? That such things don't bear thinking about? All right. Don't stop. Go right on doing the things you've always done. Waking in the morning, putting in the hours until it's time to go to sleep again. Don't, for an instant of your busy day, think about such things. But that won't make the things go away. Now will it? I'll return shortly. That was a quiet little ghost story, wasn't it? Just as I said it would be. Personally, I prefer ghost stories to be quiet. For ghosts, generally speaking, having no physical equipment, tend to be quiet. But like so many living people who are quiet, ghosts are also tenacious and persistent. And they are everywhere. Our cast included Rosemary Murphy, Arnold Moss, Mason Adams, Corinne Orr, and Robert Dryden. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
Listen to Mystery Theater again tomorrow night. Same time, same station.